All right, so what I want to check here is your fucking echo. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Yeah, an echo. Check, check. Check, check. Echo. What the fuck is this echo? Where is this echo coming from? Uh, you not believe how fucking irritating. Um, I've never had this problem. Not once. Not one time. Um, try something. Check, check, check. Are you serious? Was that it? Wow, that's gay. Okay. Guess all of that irritation was for nothing. See, you changed like one little thing about your setup and what you end up with. All right, not a computer. Uh, it was all good just a second ago. I don't feel like putting headphones on. It would arguably make that worse, but I might just have to call it for the night because I do not feel like technical difficulties that I never fucking have. All right, there we go. I think we're good. It's not. It's not. Um, it's it's that my headphones were too fucking good. So the audio that I was getting through my headphones was like feeding back into the mic, even that though it was extremely low volume. But we're good now. So So I'm gonna start this video because I was getting feedback earlier, so I didn't want to have that fucking echo on the
I am
video.
Sarah the Raging Tomato here, bringing to you live another Moderator Monday. This evening, I have with me Christopher Colt, new to the debate space, Enemy Charlie, Marte Reyes, and Andrew Wilson, of course. The topic of the evening, or the question more so, is it immoral to take land by force? On the affirmative side, Christopher Colt, if you'd like to give your opening statement, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say thanks to Sarah and the Raging Tomato
So
for
is it
hosting the
immoral to
debate.
take
My
land
motivator
by
Charlie for
force? That's the
agreeing to
debate topic.
participate, and Andrew and Marte for agreeing to lend their time and voice to, I think, what will be hopefully an important discussion that people find useful. So I think let's begin with what I would call the self-evident. What is theft? Well, it is the unauthorized taking of another person's property with the intent to permanently deprive the owner. Now, I would argue that the only logical basis for our confusion over whether such conquest as the destruction and displacement of indigenous tribes here in
I was just so y'all know I had it sped up. Um, 'Cause I don't want to listen to like every single minute, but like I want y'all as long as y'all can hear it and understand what they're saying, it should be good. But especially for the openers, I like to speed up through them.
North America was not theft is largely because European settlers had very little understanding of the Native American way of life. In their view, possessions required an exchange of money, goods, or services, resulting in a legal document defining both their ownership and the parameters of it. However, we have philosophers such as John Locke who argued that our labor, our lives invested in cultivating and building upon that land establishes a legitimate claim to it. Force does not confer legitimacy, it only confers power, and might makes right is not a moral philosophy, but rather a confession of barbarity. History stands as a stark testament to this truth. Just as the United States' acquisition of Native American lands was clearly and profoundly immoral, according to academic sources, so too is any land gained through violence and coercion. Now, this was not only well established in the post World War era, but also is a
For
core
some
precept
reason,
of
I don't
most
like this
religious
guy's
faiths.
voice.
My opponents, one a self described Orthodox Christian, the other
Can't
more of a
control that.
Christian nationalist adjacent, might appeal to a different authority. So let's turn to the spiritual lens, to the very faith they claim guides them, and discover how profoundly their stated position contradicts its core truths. First, consider the image of God, the imago Dei. The Orthodox Christian faith teaches us that every single human being, regardless of their nationality, ethnicity, or land, is created in the divine image, possessing inherent sacred dignity. When land is taken by force, it necessitates the dehumanization, violent subjugation, and dispossession of people made in God's own likeness. How can one, as an Orthodox Christian, justify such a profound violation of the sacred image of God in another human being for the sake of acquiring
I
territory?
don't.
Is land truly more valuable than a soul marked with God's
I don't think
image?
he's right about
We
that.
should also address the very concept of ownership. My opponents speak of conquest, of seizing land, as if humans possess ultimate dominion, yet their own holy traditions are unequivocal. God is the sole and ultimate owner of all creation. We are not owners, but humble stewards entrusted by God to manage his creation responsibly with love and justice and with consideration for all. Is forceful acquisition not the ultimate act of pride, an arrogant usurpation of God's sovereignty, attempting to steal not merely from fellow humans, but from God himself? And if these general prohibitions are not enough, our faith gives us a chillingly precise parable, the story of Naboth's vineyard in 1 Kings chapter 21, where King Ahab, a mighty ruler, coveted the small plot of land belonging to Naboth. Through deceit and violence, Ahab seized the vineyard. What was the divine response? The prophet Elijah delivered God's judgment, leading to the utter destruction of Ahab's royal line. The church fathers teach us that Ahab's sin was tantamount to theft from God himself. So I ask my opponents directly, was King Ahab's conquest of Naboth's land moral? If you say it was immoral, then you concede my entire argument. If you dare to say it was moral, then you stand in direct opposition to Holy Scripture and the clear judgment of God. Finally, let us consider the Orthodox Church's consistent stance on war and aggression. It does not possess a just war theory in the Western sense that might somehow rationalize conquest. While defensive war to protect the innocent might be a regrettable necessity in a fallen world, aggressive war for territorial gain is profoundly condemned. Killing, even in self-defense, requires spiritual repentance. How then can an act of aggression carried out for greed and material gain be considered anything less than a grievous sin requiring no repentance? Indeed, when the church is manipulated to justify state aggression, their own hierarchs have called it a profound betrayal of Orthodox tradition and even apostasy. Now, my opponent's position is not rooted in Orthodox Christianity. It is a secular, cynical ideology of might makes right. Thinly veiled by selective interpretation, it requires him to contradict core doctrines of human dignity, divine ownership, explicit commandments, and the consistent mind of the church. It is, in essence, a profound betrayal of the gospel itself. To take land by force is
And just so we're clear, I'm trying not to interrupt during their openings, just so I fully understand their arguments. Because if I talk over them too much, like I'm not gonna understand what they're saying. I might miss something. So I try to address like certain things about what I think about these arguments when when they say them, but I'm also try not to interrupt them. And try, 'cause I don't want to pause too much either.
immoral, it is unjust, it is illegal, and for an Orthodox Christian, it is a spiritual rebellion against God. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Charlie, to you. You're muted. You're muted. Sorry.
You gotta
There
unmute,
we
Chuck.
go. Sorry. Hi, I'm Enemy Charlie.
I will say while they're in between, and I'll try to address these things like after their openers are done. I don't think he's correct. I don't like his argument at all. Um, I don't necessarily disagree with all of it, but the conclusion that it's a more like it you necessarily have to like dehumanize people or whatever any of that. I don't think that that's necessary to like conquer or take someone's land. It could like most of the time, which I think is what sparked this debate off, is that these guys on the opposite side or on the opposite side that it's not immoral. They believe that like it's the spoils of war. So it's like if you fight a war and you win the war, you pretty much get to decide whether you want to take your opponent's land or not. Like you could leave them alone, but it doesn't mean that you're like dehumanizing them or anything, or that you necessarily are doing any of that to like take the land of the people that you just fought. It's just like spoils of war, especially if they're trying to take your land. Like, well, now you can't take mine. Now your land is mine.
I stream primarily on Twitch. My specialty is fantasy literature, not politics, history, philosophy, but I comment anyway. And thank you for having me, Sarah. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you, Christopher Cole. So before I dive into the beat of my argument, I would like to quickly address and clarify my frame of reference on land rights and morality. Because we'll be discussing colonization, it's important to clarify that land ownership is not a universal concept.
All right, I'm gonna have to slow it down for her because she's kind of talking fast on her own. It's gone. So some of this might fly past me.
Indigenous peoples of the Americas did not have the same legal structures as European settlers. Borders as they exist today are a modern construct. So when we talk about who has the right to specific tracts of land and why, my conception of land rights can be summed up by Article 26 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Indigenous peoples have the rights to lands, territories, and resources which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used or acquired. If you live there and work the land and there is no one in living memory that used to live there and was deposed, you have the right to the land. A lack of legal ownership under a European legal structure is not a valid reason for the seizure of Indigenous lands. And now on to morality. While I believe that morality is subjective,
I
human
mean, I
beings
think
across
she's.
most cultures and time
I agree
periods
with her
generally
there.
agree that murder and theft are wrong in most contexts. This is across Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, etc. Humans are social creatures and we need each other. Murdering and stealing from each other are not conducive to building a lasting, thriving society. I will reference the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
That's generally
Operating
true.
under the force doctrine inevitably leads to being subject to it yourself. In The Wretch of the Earth, Francophone scholar Frantz Fanon wrote, "The exploited man sees that his liberation implies the use of all means and that of force first and foremost." When in 1956, after the capitulation of Monsieur Guy Mollet to the settlers in Algeria, the Front de Liberation Nationale, in a famous leaflet, stated that colonialism only loosens its hold when the knife is at its throat. No Algerian really found these terms too violent. The leaflet only expressed what every Algerian felt at heart. Colonialism is not a thinking machine, nor a body endowed with reasoning facilities. It is violence in its natural state, and it will only yield when confronted with greater violence. The Algerian Liberation War ended in 1962 with approximately 500,000 Algerians and 30,000 French dead. And here I will concede, though violent decolonization efforts are rarely successful through sheer force alone, the price of the force doctrine, paid in human lives and resources, is too costly for any nation to follow for long. The more violent a regime, the faster it falls. Many European nations have wisely rejected their claims to foreign lands for this very reason.
Thank you, Charlie. And Marte, to you.
So my opponent, Enemy Charlie, had brought up the golden rule, which assumes that everybody wants to be treated the same at the end of the day, which is a crazy notion, actually, if you really think about this. So I'm going to go into my little short thing. I'll be quick. So the situation with land conquest can be thought of as a morality issue on the international scale. So who gets to enforce morality on the international?
Before he gets into that, I don't think that the golden rule is that everybody wants to be treated the same. I think the golden rule is treat others how you would like to be treated. So it's like, don't do something to somebody else that you wouldn't want them to do to you. Don't engage in behavior that you wouldn't want to be subject to yourself. I think he kind of misinterpreted what she was saying as like everybody wants to be treated the same, which I'm not gonna lie, he must have some listening comprehension skills, or he might have just been listening to respond instead of actually trying to understand her point. Because I really don't understand how that's what he got from what she said. At least that's just me. I'm pretty sure that's what he just said.
International level. It's usually the country or coalition of countries with the biggest sticks or the most money. So while my other opponent, Christopher Cole, can say might makes right, we've never asserted that. Only might only makes. So what you can do is, if you feel that one of these big countries is morally slighted your people, nothing really
Might
sucks,
makes.
but this is simply the reality of the world. Justice does not
Sure.
exist if there isn't an effective way to enforce it. We can point fingers all day that we want and say that there's something morally wrong, but at the end of the day, there's little else or nothing to do about it. To Andrew.
Yep. Thank you, Marte. And Andrew, to you, please.
That was it.
Well, thank you. I also would like to thank
I'm
my
not gonna
opponents.
lie. I'm gonna be honest. I can already tell, and this is what a lot of people do. Although I don't know who the fuck this guy is, and I really don't probably care about what he fucking has to say. But a lot of people, when Andrew is their debate partner, because Andrew is so good at debating and kind of tearing apart people's points and getting at them, like, and sometimes some people argue it's like nitpicky and semantic, but some of it's important. A lot of people who debate with him tend to like lean on just him kind of dominating the debate on their side. So this guy, I can just kind of tell if that was his opener, he's probably not going to exist in this debate much. It's probably going to be majority Andrew doing most of the debating, which is cool. I guess if I had Andrew as a debate partner, I'd probably let him handle most of it too. But sometimes I don't agree with how my debate partner is debating, so you got to be a little you got to take over a little bit. But I don't really like when people do that. Uh, I feel like this guy's not going to say much. Doesn't seem like he has much of an argument of his own. Uh, but yeah, let's see.
For the brutal slaughter, which is about to happen this evening. This is my hats off salute to you. I even combed my hair this evening because I wanted to show respect. I didn't wear my black shirt, even though this is going to be a funeral. I'd like to
One of
point
the
out,
reasons I like Andrew is
firstly,
because he's
that
funny.
this debate is absurd on its face. While I'll grant there can be cases where using force to remove people from their land by force can be immoral.
Wait, hold on. Is the debate absurd on its face? Like, the question is it immoral to take land by force? I guess if I were thinking from as far as I think, my opinion on this is that it can be. I don't think it's necessarily. So I guess he's right in the sense that if we're just asking in general, is it wrong to take land by force? I'd say no. That's pretty much how land is going to be taken. Whether it's moral or not, I guess it depends. If you believe in objective morality, it would probably depend on like whether or not, like I said earlier, you were like attacked and this is just like the result of you winning or something else. Like, kind of difficult to say unless if you don't believe in objective morality that it's immoral because, it'd be like a cultural context thing. But usually taking anything by force is gonna depend on like the context and the situation you're in. Like, if you take something from somebody by force, but they took something from you and you're taking it back, or you're basically just taking possession of something after you've won, um, I guess it could be debatable. If you're going from the perspective of God, which I would assume uh these people would. I think the first guy was using like a Christian worldview to defend his idea that it's or his point that it's not. Uh, I guess you could go either way, like but I think if you're going off of the Bible, I think God's probably okay with you taking land by force, just from their perspective. I think that you could justify it, and I think that's what Andrew's getting at.
In and of itself, using force to occupy or take land cannot be immoral. My opponents can't possibly believe this either, or they will need to explain things like
Well, I don't necessarily agree that it cannot be immoral, but like I said, I'm gonna let them finish their openers, and then I'll make my opinion, or then I'll give my opinion. I don't want to pause it too much.
taxes, specifically property tax, which is an assessed and forced payment of an asset to an entity on a thing you own, which if you don't pay your property taxes, your property becomes a default, and it's taken by force, Christopher Colt. It's taken.
Wait, so is he talking about like defaulting on your taxes? I'm sorry, it's just this argument. I I don't necessarily think taxes is a good way to describe like taking something by force not being immoral. Like taxes is probably one of the worst examples you could use because it's like nobody really like agrees most of the time that it should even be a thing. It's just kind of like you got to accept it. So taking somebody's shit, even after they've like I guess defaulted on the taxes, is like do they really even have to pay the taxes to begin with? Like, um, I guess it's justified. I don't know. I'll let him finish his argument.
Taken by force if you default. Or let's take a look at the American Revolution, in which we annexed by violence a rather large amount of land, which was owned by the Crown of England. In fact, my examples of force doctrine being used to occupy or conquer land for, quote, good are vast, and my opponents would probably agree with every single one of them. So what are we really even talking about here? Imagine trying to navigate the redresses, which would be necessary here if we actually took our opponents at face value. It's mind-boggling how much land has changed hands in a very short historic period of time, let alone long historic periods of time. If we attempted to redress it all, it would be not only a monumental task, but it could actually lead to some pretty absurd and hilarious outcomes. Like, let's take the Native American example. Let's say we have Tribe A and Tribe B. Tribe A has a document from the government of promised land, which the government then stole from them. Then Tribe A pursues redress for this and is awarded for occupied land in its full amount. Then Tribe B sues now Tribe Land A, and gets awarded even more money because Tribe A stole all that land from Tribe B 500 years before that land was stolen from Tribe A by the United States government. Do I think that that would be hilarious? Yes. Do I think that that actually would be what would have to happen if my opponents were consistent in their logic after I show them the hundreds of examples of natives stealing land from each other? Yes. Imagine if we did this, by the way, for every perceived injustice of land changing hands. It's absurd and also hilarious. In short, I'm not even really sure what my opponent's position is here. But in asking, is it immoral to take land by force, the answer is, well, sometimes. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it isn't. Right? But we wouldn't be appealing to the idea that just doing that in and of itself was always immoral, because that would be preposterous. It would monolithically put up a thing which you guys don't even believe. How do I know you don't believe it? Well, because Chuck over here already told us. She conceded that force doctrine was moral, using Nigeria as an example of revolution, which is also hilarious. Force doctrine, so that you understand what it actually is.
Algeria.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever it was. Okay, the point is, and by the way, I didn't interrupt you once, Chuck. That wasn't very nice, Chuck. But anyway, the idea here is of what force doctrine is pretty simple. Force doctrine is just saying that all rights come from men.
Whatever.
Not making a might makes right argument. Rather, force doctrine is giving you a descriptor for how the world works. Now, you can argue with force doctrine if you want to with that descriptor, but you'd have to replace it with a more accurate descriptor, and nobody to date has been able to do so because it's an accurate descriptor. Otherwise, I would not have come up with it. You say, do unto others as you would have done unto you. Well, here's the thing that's interesting about that. By whose metric? The secularist metric or by the Christian metric? Which metric should we use and utilize, since that's part of Christian ethics and not a secular ethic? Why should we adhere to your version of what that means? You say morality is subjective, and then at the same time you say that there's some type of universal here which you're appealing to, right? All morality is subjective, but universally it's always wrong to take land. That's a contradiction in and of itself. That's A and not A. When you say land ownership is not universal, well, I agree. I agree that this is a social construction, so we have to start with what ownership actually is. I would make the claim that ownership is, one, a declaration that a thing belongs to you, and then that would have to be backed by some kind of force for you to keep said thing. For instance, let's say for a second you were walking through a desert and you were thirsty, and you came across a dead body with a full canteen. If you took that canteen and drank from it, would you be stealing? Or would you have a deference of ownership where you would feel like this was a justified transfer of property because the person who was there no longer needed the canteen? And then if somebody tried to take the canteen from you, would you say, no, it's mine? I think you would. Right? So I think just by the establishment of what we would consider ownership to be, I think you're going to end up having to concede to our position. When you say taking land by force is immoral, I really do want you to contend with the tax doctrine. I think that you're probably a pretty pro-taxes guy, if you're a Democrat anyway. And I would love to know how that's not theft by the same metric that you gave us for what theft is. Also, you said orthodox war theory, aggressive war is condemned. No, it's not. No. We have saints who conducted an aggressive war like Saint Helga, who literally unleashed pigeons that were on fire to burn down an entire city and killed everybody inside it. She's a saint. You have no idea what you're talking about, because Christianity and Christian ethics are pluralistic. I mean, right? Okay. You cannot make the universals.
This is a good point from within,
for a reason.
The Christian perspective.
You say, and I'll just
using
end
the
with
fact
this.
that they have saints.
When you're talking about Native Americans, I wouldn't want to say Indians and offend anybody's delicate sensibilities. What you're alluding to is the myth of the noble savage. I'm going to tell you the truth about what was really going on with Native Americans. They were sacrificing each other on top of temples, cutting each other's hearts out. They were raping children. They were killing and murdering each other in mass all the time, nonstop. And if you came across a culture like that, what would you do? Is the first question I'll ask. We just leave them alone. Yeah, right. Yeah, right, like that's ever happened. But I'd be happy to hear about the myth of the noble savage. And we can go tribe by tribe if you want, and you can explain how noble they really were when we get into their actual history. So, in short, I just want to summarize with this. You don't understand force doctrine. You don't understand Orthodox theology. I don't even think you understand the prism of the history that we're talking about. And on top of all of this, just to kind of tie it all together, by your own definition of what theft is, taxation would be theft, and I want you to say it. And with that, that's the end of my opening statement. Thank you.
Thank
The
you
government
to all of
backwards.
you. I appreciate it very much. As a kind reminder to the audience, we are going to get through our open dialogue for the debate. Then we will move into closing statements. Then we will read and respond to your kind super chats. After that, of course, as always, our favorite part, we will move into open panel dumpster fire, where you're allowed to come on as the public and ask questions and prompt and all of those fun things. Ladies and gentlemen, I leave the floor open to you.
Yeah, so
Can I
if you don't mind, I'd like to
respond to-
begin with just a query so we can get some semantics taken care of.
In fairness, you did query several things, and I think Charlie was
Well,
about to
I
respond.
haven't made
to
a
one of
query yet. I made an
them. You
opening
made several in
statement.
your opening statement.
If I have a query, did you answer to any of them?
You didn't get an opportunity. to
That's
answer
right. So
them. You
that's what
wanna
I'm doing right
re-ask the
now.
query?
I'm not even trying to engage in that. Right now, I just want to get some semantics done. So the thing is I want to agree to some terms with you guys. So we're not talking past each other. Don't you agree that that's very important in a debate, that we get our semantics taken care of, so we're not talking past each other? We know exactly what the
I
other
ain't gonna lie,
side
I kinda
means
wanna
by the
skip
words that
past
they're
this.
saying. Can we do that real quick?
Are you setting the standard?
No, I'm
definition?
asking. Going to
The
ask
only
you
reason
what
I'm
your
not gonna
standard
skip
is, and you can
past
definitely ask
is
me for what mine is. I just want to make
semantic
sure that our
clarifications
semantics aren't in
because
order.
All right, let's go. I just want to make sure that
they're
Charlie gets a chance
probably
to
gonna
make the
run
point.
Of course,
I'm
you can
okay
too.
with
disagreement
discussing semantics,
or
but I
you're
don't want it
done
to
with
get
it.
too nitpicky, nitty gritty, because I'd rather actually discuss the conversation at hand rather than,
Which
freak
is
ourselves out
like,
over
again,
definitions.
Okay, well, I'm not
if
looking
I was
necessarily
debating
just
with Andrew,
definitions.
like,
I just want to make sure that we understand what we
I would
mean.
probably
You agree
like
with me that words
tell
can
him to
have
cut it
different
out at a
meanings for
certain
different
point
people,
'cause
right?
he does it sometimes. And
Okay,
it
so
just
then
gets
I want to make sure that when I
really,
use the
really
word theft
annoying.
or when I use the word conquest, we're
It's
talking
it's
about the
not
same thing.
necessarily
Otherwise,
that
we're going to
he's
be talking
wrong in
past
what
each other
he's
in this debate.
saying.
So, Chris, what is theft from your
It's
view?
just that
The repossession of a piece
sometimes
of
he
property
just
in order to
he
retain it
actually stops the
unnecessarily,
debate
meaning
from actually
that you could have
getting
obtained that
anywhere.
piece of property a different way in most
Sometimes,
cases,
not all the time, but
except you've
sometimes.
decided that you're going to circumvent that, short circuit it, and take somebody else's property instead.
Repossession of a piece of property when you
By-
could have gained it
When you
in
could have gained it a different way.
when you could have gained it a different way. Okay. And then when we're discussing force doctrine, will you accept our definition of what force doctrine is, which is that it's a descriptor which explains that rights come from men? Do you agree that that's our view?
I agree that that is your view, yeah.
Okay, so you agree that that's our view. So you're not going to later say that you guys are saying might makes right and things like this because that's not what we're saying, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we can clarify that further at some
Okay,
point.
gotcha. Okay, so force doctrine, you agree with our view. And then the last thing that I want to ask you is conquest. What do you consider conquest to be?
I think that's going to vary depending on the period of history that you're looking at.
What do you consider it to be?
I would consider it to
Just
be an
go back to
invasion of
saying what I
sovereign
keep-
space for the purpose of taking up ownership of that space.
Invasion of sovereign space to take up ownership. Okay. That's all I wanted to know. I just wanted to make sure that we're not speaking
Bothering
past
me
each other.
about
If you
this.
guys want any of the semantics to be clarified by us, now's a great time to do that before we move into whatever your queries are.
So, I'm sorry, force doctrine is specifically laws are made by men?
No, that rights come from men.
Rights come from men.
Yeah.
The gender, not us as a species.
No, the sex, not the gender.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Do you agree with me that gender and sex have two distinct meanings?
And
I think that
is
is not
a,
relevant to the conversation at hand.
You
Man is
asked
not
it,
a
so
sex.
why'd you bring
That's
it up? If it's
fine.
not
I know
relevant?
what you
Sex is
mean.
male.
I know what you mean.
Okay, so you would agree
Just
with
want to
me.
clarify that we were talking about
Yeah.
a
So
species.
when I say men, I'm talking about sex. I'm not talking about those who identify.
Okay,
as
so
men. I'm
that's
talking
not
about
just
sex
me
specific of men.
doing
That
that
wasn't
to
the
me.
question.
Yes, it
I
was
was
the question.
asking if you were
said the
talking
gender.
about species, us as a species.
Are men and
think
women
she-
a different species?
No, it
I
said
think I think she just utilized the word gender, but in terms of your position, Andrew, I think she meant the same thing that you would say in terms of
The
sex.
reason
Like,
I'm really
I don't
clear,
know why
I'm
he,
very clear about this
we'll
for a
use,
reason.
we'll use men as
This
a
is why I
as
said
a,
I would like to.
you
I
know,
would probably
as a
skip through
stand-in
this
for our
shit
species
normally
as a human
because this is
species. They will
like
say men. That's
Yeah,
all I was
that's true.
asking.
Or mankind,
She
or things
said,
like
like,
this.
the
Yeah, I
trans-
That's,
agree.
that is
gender,
what I
like,
was asking.
Yeah,
That
sure.
is
man
what I was
is-
asking.
I'm willing to grant on
Like,
the era
literally the
specific
gender.
what you're talking about that could be the case when they're also referencing
to
women
be
when
the
they say
gender for
mankind.
male.
I can even agree to
But
that. But the reason I'm not willing to grant something like
the
gender,
sex
or
is
you say,
not
do you mean
man.
the gender of men, is because that has a loaded meaning. So I'm
Like,
going to
that's-
semantically distinguish between the two
Those aren't the
and say my
same
meaning
thing.
of man has nothing to do with
Because you
gender, but
can
has to do with
be
sex.
a
That's all.
male and not
Okay,
be a
that's fine.
man,
Okay, good.
i.e., you know, boys.
Okay, so I'm ready for the
and
queries.
men,
What do you guys got?
Yeah, go ahead.
not
Um,
being an adult.
Well,
Not every
first, I
male
would
is
like
an
to
adult
say that
male.
I was not invoking the myth of the noble savage. I am quite aware that some indigenous tribes of the Americas were in fact quite brutal.
Just so
And
we're
this, in
clear,
fact, kind
so
of
we're
ties
clear.
into the point that I
About
made
to
that when
die.
you employ the force doctrine, you will always be subject to it yourself at some point.
Okay.
The
Dying.
sacking of
But,
agree.
no,
But we agree.
I just want to clarify this for anybody that ever makes this mistake again. And this is why I don't agree when people say, like, there are only two genders. No, there are two sexes. All right. Now, the genders, there are four. And here are the four genders: boy, girl, man, woman. Simple as that. You can be a male, not be an adult. You can be a male and not be a man. You can be a female and not be a woman. You can be a female and not be an adult. The definition of these words rely on adulthood versus adolescence or being a child. So yes, gender does have a use, but maybe not in the way that they use it. But don't get confused and start saying shit like he's saying, like saying man is the sex. That's objectively fucking retarded. And it really pisses me off when people do shit like that. Because it's like you don't even seem to understand the words yourself, but you're trying to correct somebody else. Like, shut the fuck up. I'm done. That was it.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I agree with you 100% that all people are subject to force doctrine, that is a descriptor for how the world works, including me, including you, including Marte, including Sarah, including everybody.
Can I make sure we get one element of this correct? You say that is how the world works. In your mind, is that how the world works indifferent to any kind of human autonomy or ability to make our own decisions? In other words, are we able to evolve beyond that reality, or is it your assessment
What
that
you're
we are
talking,
just, that is
yeah,
just a fact of
I'll
nature
answer your
and we need to-
question. What you're talking about is the idea of what is socially constructed versus what is material reality. When I ask you, sir, what is a right? What is it?
It's going to depend very much on the definition.
Yeah, so I'm asking for your definition. What's
so
a
what
right?
is a right to me?
Yeah.
My rights begin where yours end.
Yeah, that doesn't tell me what a right is. That just, it tells me the application you would use for what a right is. What is a
It
right?
does. A right is
not,
basically applied evenly across all
That was
people,
not an
or it
answer
is
to what is a right at
an
all.
equal right.
That doesn't tell me what a right is. What is a right?
It doesn't.
A right is something that you have a right to.
Wait, I'm sorry.
As a human being,
You're
as a
using the
creature of value.
word, dude. You're using the word to describe the word. If I asked you what a man is, and you said a man is somebody who's a man, would that
Why are
give
we
me
getting
any?
bogged down with semantics? I don't see how this
Well,
is relevant.
okay.
To the
Do you
discussion.
understand that?
I
Hang
thought we
on.
were talking about
I'm sorry.
taking land
I'm
by
sorry.
Just so we're clear, I'm familiar with what Andrew thinks a right is. So, like, the correct answer, or at least generally what he would say a right is an entitlement absent a duty, which I could kind of understand. It's a pretty good definition for what a right is, an entitlement. Now, let's see if they answer in a way that he would accept, because this is probably going to be the contention here.
Sorry. Did he bring up rights? If he brings up rights, I have every business. It's my business to ask him what he means by a right. And if he says what I mean by a right is anything I consider to be a right,
And
then
why
that's
do you
important
have,
for the
why
debate.
do you have a right to?
Don't ask me a question. Answer it. What is a right?
I can ask a question.
You can't after you answer mine. What is a right? What is a
I think
right?
it would be helpful in terms of the debate, because we are talking about taking property per se. It is valuable to
Which you
have
think
this
you have a right
conversation
to. You think you have a
with-
right
I
to
think it's-
property. That's why I want to know what a right is. What is a right? What is it, dude?
You are owed it on the basis of your humanity.
You're owed what?
Proper treatment of some kind.
What does that mean, though? Do you see what I mean? Like, that doesn't tell us what it
God,
is.
it's society dependent, dude.
A right to
It's things
exist.
that we are guaranteed.
You're
And it
okay.
could be-
I understand you may have a right to exist. You may have a right
have
to
a
have an
right to not
abortion.
have-
You may have a right to all sorts of things.
Good
That doesn't tell me what a right
explanation
is,
of what it
though.
is.
What is
Okay,
a
but
right
why don't
itself?
you tell
You
us,
said
Andrew?
owed
Why
it.
don't
Why do I
you
need to
tell
tell
us?
you what your fucking
Technically,
definition of a thing is,
wait.
Chuck?
Because you're complaining. You're
Let me
complaining
ask-
right now.
I need to know. Okay,
So we
listen,
can work
Chuck,
with your
Chuck,
definition.
Chuck,
I'm
listen,
trying to work with you right now.
Chuck,
Why don't you tell us what
I'm
a
trying-
right
I'm trying to
is?
work with
Probably
Chuck.
what
I'm trying to work with you,
Hold on
Chuck.
just a second,
Entitled
just
to
a
something
second.
you're entitled to.
Christopher and Charlie, would you be agreeable that you think a right is a social construct of some sort?
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay, let's start there.
What the fuck is it?
Would
When
like
you
to
say
take
right, what
the
does that mean?
Oxford Dictionary?
I'm going to guess it means a
You
different
can. I
thing.
don't care what you look up. You can take your time and look up what you think a right is. Just tell us what a right is, so at least we're on the same page.
I mean, I told you. It's something that you are owed on the basis of your humanity.
That doesn't
Okay.
tell us what a right is.
Yeah, it doesn't. It just.
Well,
It's
because
like,
it is a social construct. So
Yeah.
it is. It's a very influx thing. It depends on where the fuck you are.
so you have a right to not be.
I actually kind of have no problem with her answer. I think it answers what she thinks a right is, something that you're owed on the basis of your humanity. And given that his definition is an entitlement absent a duty, what she's describing is an entitlement, something that you're entitled to. She just said owed instead of entitled to. So what she's describing is essentially what his definition would be. So I don't necessarily know what his contention here is. Maybe he'll expound, but it's kind of answering his question. I don't understand what his problem is.
Stolen from, but it's very influx and subjective, and we're not really sure about it. Is that
So
right?
it's conditional made up.
So it's conditional. We just made
I
it
mean,
up.
it can depend on the the country that you're in, but it is.
So
a social construct, yes.
so then theft itself is a social construct.
I mean, everything's a social construct.
Okay. Wait. No. I'm sorry. Is a tree a social construct?
The word tree is. Or
Is
idea
a
of
tree
are
a social
relation
construct,
to,
not the word tree?
A tree.
Yeah. Is a tree a social construct?
Why the fuck are we talking about trees?
Because you just said everything's a social construct. Is that an accurate statement, or did you just make that up?
No, I see you do this. I watch some of your debates, and you do this all the time. You don't actually address the fucking discussion. You bog people down on semantics.
What
It's
I
like
do,
Ishkalop or
here's
some
what
bullshit.
I do.
Can we
What I do
talk
is go
about
after the
subject at
pillar.
fucking hand?
Yeah,
Can
I'm
we
going
talk
after the
about
pillar of your
subject
view.
at hand? Which is no, you're not. You are arguing semantics.
I'll tell you what.
You don't want to make an actual
I'll
argument.
tell you
What
what.
is your argument?
I'll tell you what. Go ahead. Go ahead and tell me the thing that you want to get
I
to,
don't know
and
why
I'll show you how the
that's so funny
pillar
to me,
of what
but
we're
I've
talking
never heard
about is
anybody
semantically
call it
based. Go ahead.
Gish-Gallop or Gish-Gallop.
Whatever it is.
Pillar of the argument, like what we're in.
I guarantee it. You're concerned. You're upset. You think that white people stole all the Indians' land. That's your big contention, right? But you have no concept of what fucking theft is. So why shouldn't I go after the pillar of that? Why shouldn't I go after the pillar of that if you have no concept of what a right or theft even is? Why should I listen to a fucking word you have to say, Chuck?
There we go.
Can you explain it to me, Chuck? Use really small words.
Do you not know what the definition?
I don't know what your definition of the word theft is because you just said it's a social construct.
Moron?
Oh, geez, Chuck, you really got me with that.
Dictionary? Like, I don't understand. Dude.
You just said that theft is a social. Chuck,
this is not debating, man. This is not
so,
debating.
So, Chuck, what you just said.
For just a moment,
Chuck, what you just.
I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in this.
Then run, Chuck. Then run away. Rage quit, Chuck.
If you don't mind, if you don't mind, thank you. Okay, I do find it very vital in order to get to a foundation. If we disagree on what a word means, then we're not going to be able to have the topic or the argument at hand anyways. So I do find it.
So here, look, I'll just make this super clear, crystal clear. I'll give you my position. I'll give you my position so that you can attack my position. My position is this. You just got done saying to me, Andrew, theft is a social construction. Everything's a social construct. Rights are social constructs. Theft is social constructs. All of that is socially constructed and societally dependent. So how could you make a claim that even if white people came here and put every Indian to the sword because they thought it was really fucking fun, they took their kids up and they chopped their fucking heads off for fun. They made them into little Indian shishka fucking bob. They were like, they shishka bobbed up all the Indian kids. How could you even say that's immoral, Chuck? If it's just culturally dependent and just up to the culture, what the fuck is actually immoral about it, Charles? What?
Little Indian shit. This is crazy.
Oh, because we don't have to live together, Charles. Chuck, do we have to live together?
Kill each other. We don't die.
We don't have to even kill each other.
Stupid.
We don't. Not only do we not have to kill each other.
For our species to survive and to function.
Our species can survive fine without living with each other. Yeah. Why does our species?
Yeah. I don't like her argument at all.
Conditions. Conditional. All the way through. No standard. No base. No grounding. Nothing. This is crazy.
Yeah, you just
said
said
that I have given what you've just said, which was addressed in my opening statement, and I'd like to get to it because I think this is actually vital to the point. Is your argument that because the European settlers found it necessary to eliminate the Native Americans in order to claim their land because they felt threatened by certain tribes, that at that point in time it was not immoral?
No, of course not. So I have a universal concept of morality. But the problem here is, like, we're starting off the query with an internal critique. I think it's fine for you to internally critique what we think as well. But as we start the query for the internal critique, I don't understand this view where you claim, you and Chuck, that these are social constructions, rights are completely fictitious and made up, and theft is completely fictitious and made up, and yet somehow we're supposed to apply this standard to what happened with the natives. Tell me why the fuck we should do that if it's all just made up, dude.
What do you mean made up?
Because it's how
you made it up out of your. What, okay, so this is why. This is okay. Hang on. You see how you said
social contract.
Do you see why you just said? Hang on. Let me answer his question, Chuck. Let me answer his question.
I don't know why he's calling her Chuck. I don't know who she is. I have no idea why he's calling her Chuck. Weird. I don't know if she's a tranny or what. but him calling her Chuck is like confusing the fuck out of me. All right, whatever. Continue.
So he asked a question. It's a good query. What do you mean by made up? See, you're asking for semantics? That's smart, right? What I mean by made up is that from your view, rights, completely fictitious. They come out of your mind. You make them up out of thin air. They're a product purely of the mind. They exist nowhere in material reality. So, like, let me ask you this. Can you touch a right? Can you taste it? Can you smell it? Can you see it? Where is it? Show me a right. Show me one. Can either of you do that?
Can you taste it? Can you smell it?
That we have come
it is a concept.
We all agree upon. That we all agree upon.
Do we all agree upon them? Like, do you agree upon the concept that I have a right to own a RPG?
No, we don't all agree upon them.
I don't think that we have that right.
Well, yeah, I know. So we don't agree on the concepts then, I guess, do we? It's almost like we have like a semantic argument here that we need to get through because like we totally like don't agree on what rights are.
Listen. I believe that we have social contracts that we adhere to because we want to survive as a species, and we understand that the survival of our species is good. It is good for us to be alive. And
I understand. I can grant that.
Harmony with each other. Correct. Like I don't like bad things to happen. I think, right? We all agree. We like.
Okay. If it is the case then that you believe in social contracts, what's wrong with having a social contract of might makes right?
Because it is not conducive to the survival of our species.
How is it not conducive to the survival of our species? It seems like it would be just fine to live under an empire. It seems like it would be just fine to live under these things. It seems like we would survive just fine. Why wouldn't we survive under empires? We've survived traditionally under empires. What are you talking about? Tell me why is it that hang on. Let me finish the query. Let me finish the question. Why is it that if you had a social contract, then you believe in social contracts, we had a social contract for might makes right, that would somehow be bad? You love social contracts. Why would that be bad?
I'm sorry, restate that.
Why would it be bad to have a social contract of might makes right?
How would that be the same as being good to each other and ensuring the survival?
Why would that mean bad?
Right.
Yeah, when you say good is also the product of the mind, right?
Of course, yes, but we are talking about.
So then, what's the issue here?
Theft of land, which requires the displacement or the death of its original occupants.
Oh.
So when we discuss the colonization of America, we are talking about 1500s. We have about 5 to 10 million. Sometimes they will estimate 55 million.
Who mostly died of disease.
Mostly died of disease, yes, that the Europeans brought, which wasn't intentional,
so
but
what?
Was indeed a product.
Yeah, so what? That's like everything. Yeah. But let me ask you this, Chuck. If it is the case lady and gentlemen, if it is the case that the Europeans came in here and they wanted to make a shish kebab out of all the little Indian children, what violates the social contract here that you're talking about? What social contract did the Europeans have with the
Because
Indians?
when you make shish kebabs
Yeah,
of people's
like-
children, they will do that to yours.
That's
which
a-
has
that's a
happened.
good
It's-
point.
Did they do it to us, or did we just conquer all their shit and take it all?
No, they did definitely like kill and scalp like women and children. They did.
Oh, so then they
They did.
weren't the,
Actually, I have some examples.
So we were defending ourselves?
So during the no, these were
Sure,
retaliatory
many people
attacks
thought
after
they were
land was
defending.
Oh, so you can retaliate. I didn't know that. You can
I
retaliate.
don't think.
I think in self-defense, yes, I believe in self-defense, certainly.
So,
Um,
so if you have,
the
I don't
Jamestown
think-
massacre
Great,
of
this is
1643
great.
If you've
Virginia,
created
the
the-
Powhatan tribes killed
I
approximately
mean, look,
400
yeah,
settlers,
self-defense
including
is
children.
fine.
The Hutchinson massacre of 1643 in New York, Anne Hutchinson and her children.
But I don't know if he's gonna argue that like the Europeans were just defending themselves. Come on, dog. Like, yeah, I know you're not about to argue that.
Were scalped, tortured, and scalped before they were killed. That was a Christian woman living alone with her children. The
Damn
Pueblo Revolt of
savages.
1680 in New Mexico. Wow, that's something. 400 Spanish settlers killed, including.
well, I
women,
mean, they
children,
killed a woman and her children. You don't think that that's savage?
I mean, you should read about what we did to the Native Americans.
Does that mean
the
that
way
you
we
can kill
raped
innocent
and
people?
tortured.
Does
What
that
I'm
mean
saying
you
is
can
that
kill
if
innocent
you
people?
live by the sword, you die by the sword.
I
You, as a man,
see.
here, listen.
I
you have-
see. That
you
sounds an
have
awful
a
lot
right.
like might makes right, lady. Sounds an awful lot like might makes right.
You like
I'm
semantics and you
disagreeing
like to
with the
not
decide
application
words.
of the
exactly as
force
might
doctrine.
makes
I'm
right,
disagreeing
but
with the application of the force
that's a good
doctrine.
point.
I think it is
All you're doing is proving the
bad.
application of the force doctrine. All you're doing is proving it.
Marte, did you
Andrew,
want to jump
you-
in?
I was going to let Colt say something. What were you going to say, sir?
Yeah, no, I'm curious because Andrew previously wanted to know what a right is. I would like to know what Andrew's definition of right in
It's
the
an
might make
entitlement.
right is.
Entitlement absent duty is what I would consider a right to be.
No, I mean, what would you consider? You keep using the phrase "might makes right."
No.
You're
Yeah,
saying
what's the
you're not
phrase?
defending that, but I want to know
Entitlement.
what
No, I'm not
you
defending it. I'm showing you
Yeah.
via an internal critique why when you said the words might make right,
I never
that
said
makes you did in
Not-
your opening statement.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no.
what you said in your opening
I said
statement.
actually, if you listened to my opening statement more closely, you would understand that I was saying that that's not the argument you're making. Do you want me to reread that part again?
Yes.
Let me find it. Hold on just a second.
Find the first time you mentioned it though, not the second.
Well,
See,
I guess
see,
you
the
guys
thing,
keep talking, but
I do this
you have
awesome
something you
thing
wanna say
where
while-
I take notes the entire time you guys are talking, so I make sure I don't mischaracterize what you're saying.
Yeah, that
So-
doesn't mean you take accurate notes.
That's true, but we're going to find out in a second when you pull it up, and we're going to find out that I am accurate and that you said my opponents believe in might makes right. You'll see for yourself, and then I'll be vindicated, and you're going to have to say that you're sorry. Are you gonna say you're sorry after
No,
you
the
read it out?
point that was made in the
You're
opening
not gonna
statement
say
is
sorry.
that
Right.
you're
Sorry.
veiling
Does it?
that. You're saying that's not what you're saying, but it is actually at the root
How?
of everything that you're about.
No, I'm giving
Because
you a
what you're
descriptor.
saying is, if I have a bigger gun than you, or bigger
Uh-huh.
muscles than you, or a better army than you,
Mhm.
that if I take your stuff,
Mhm.
in as we look at it in the past, we can't make an argument that that was wrong
I mean, to be
because
fair,
I was simply using the ability that I had to take what I felt that.
Yeah,
I
tell me
needed
why
from
it's
you.
wrong.
That's what we're here to.
one thing I'd say is if you believe in subjective morality, meaning that like they're depending on the cultural circumstances or whatever environment that people will decide upon whatever the morality is or whatever. There's an argument for might makes right because if it's subjective and the people with the power are the ones who decide, which is what might makes right means, then might does make right. Like, because the only subjective morals you're going to have are going to be a result of the people with the power, the mighty, making whatever is right, and whatever is wrong is whatever they deem is wrong. So, I mean, you would only be able to counteract that with an objective morality and something that isn't based on like, I guess you could say like human benefit, because I think there are objective moral frameworks like utilitarianism and consequentialism that are based on like the consequences and the utility of certain things. So those could be objective, but they're still kind of based on like a subjective human view of what is utility and what are bad consequences versus good consequences. But continue.
Here to discuss.
Yeah, tell me why. That's what I'm asking you. Why is it wrong, bro?
Let's start
The
there.
survival of our
What do you mean by
species.
wanna right?
It's not-
How is it not conducive to the survival of our species?
So the
to
question
fucking
that I
kill
want
and
to
murder
know.
each other. It doesn't end
Exactly.
well.
First of all, it is indeed conducive to the survival of our species to kill and murder. Tell me descriptively how we ended up with less people via the murder of the Native Americans. Can you explain that to me? How did we end up with less? It seems to me, from the historic standard, how many people were alive then versus now?
You're getting a far field. I want to
The
stick to the
survival
point that
of
we're
the
talking
I don't
about.
think so.
It's
Your
not-
claim
it's
is
not
it's
beneficial.
conducive. How is it not beneficial?
I don't
Seems like it was totally
necessarily know
beneficial.
what
was
point he's trying to
unbeneficial
make
about
here.
it?
The death of millions. The
Yeah.
destruction of cultures.
And
And
what was
languages, I
not
think it's
beneficial
horrible.
about that? You ended up having an entire land seas, which was rich in resource, led to a massive population boom, led to the strongest military on earth, led to even global peace. You could make the argument, led global peace. So tell me, lady, how is it not conducive to humans? Even if it is the case, I grant this entire thing, that we went and we just shish kebabbed up the Indians because it was the funniest funny thing we could ever think of doing. Tell me how that wasn't conducive to humans flourishing, because it seemed like we flourished fine.
I
believe in
mean-
Using
climate
what? We can
change, so I
get
don't
into
know
that
if I
if you
can have
want.
this conversation with you. I also think that we argue that it led
He's
to the
technically
invention
not
of a
wrong.
nuclear bomb in some capacity, which could be the death of us all, frankly. So I'm not sure if like us developing.
I think the only problem I would have with what he's saying is that, like, I'm pretty sure what she means is like humanity collectively, and you quite literally can't say it's beneficial to humanity flourishing if your argument is all the things that happened in the future that were good, and you're ignoring the fact that a large amount of humans were killed in order to make that happen that didn't have to be. Like, theoretically, it's not actually what happened, but theoretically, America could have still been founded. All of these achievements could have still been achieved, and you could have not sacrificed a bunch of lives to do it. Like, it's not a necessary thing that has to happen in order for this future to come about. So saying that it would be conducive to human flourishing as if it was like a necessary thing that had to happen in order for these things to happen is kind of fallacious. I'll just say that.
Developing weapons capable of like, wiping all of us out. I think that that's actually kind of worse.
Wait,
Yeah,
you
there's,
mean
like,
a nuclear armistice where every country now has the ability to obliterate each other, and none of them do because if they did, there would be nuclear retaliation, which has led to the most global stability we've ever fucking seen. How is that? Again,
Yeah, sure. He could be right. I'm gonna say hot take. This assumes that nukes are real. Just saying. I'm not convinced. You could convince me by somebody being nuked.
again, I'm not even making the claim here, all countries having nukes is good. I'm not even making the claim having nukes is good. I'm only making the counterclaim to you that this is somehow not conducive to human flourishing. Prove it. Prove it.
nuclear weapons. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd say
prove
that
it.
There's a pretty significant conflict.
Also, the idea that like nukes are conducive to human flourishing because people have realized, oh shit, we could kill each other if we actually use these things. And so they stop killing each other as much because people have the ability to use them. It's just like, I don't really think that's a good argument. I just think it's not conducive to human flourishing to create a weapon that is so dangerous. It causes people to be like, oh shit, maybe we should stop fighting. I mean, I guess you could say it is. It's like, there's an argument there. I just don't think it's a very strong one. And also, again, like I said, I'm not necessarily convinced that nukes are actually real. You know, they've only been used once within history, and every other time it's like, oh, well, yeah, well, they're scary, so we've never used them again.
Yeah.
And,
Did we
Iran,
bomb? Okay, should we have not nuked the Japanese?
No,
No.
we should not.
No,
The war was
that's
almost over.
horrible.
Can you look up what the estimates would have been of the deaths if had we not nuked the Japanese?
That's the other reason I don't know if I believe in nukes, because it's like, did we nuke the Japanese? There's evidence to suggest that we just dirty bombed the Japanese at most. Dropped a lot of payloads, but not really a lot of evidence, even as far as radiation is concerned, that we actually nuked them. The stream is gone now, but maybe I can find a little archive, or maybe I'll show you guys again. There's a whole stream we were watching on here, going through whether there's sufficient evidence to support the fact that nukes are real or even were actually used, and that it wasn't just other bombs. But continue.
Japanese?
Actually, we could have conceded on the whole emperor being a divine individual thing, and the Japanese would have taken our deals. So that's kind of like up in the air. People
Wait
are
a
not
second.
really
I'm
certain
sorry.
on
You
it.
said earlier, and I got the note here, retaliatory fighting is fine because it's self-defense. Did the Japanese attack us at Pearl Harbor?
I think that at that point we had retaliated in a proportionate manner. Thus,
Oh, so what you really mean
There's
is you should only be
proportionality.
able to respond in a proportional manner.
Yes, Andrew. So if you piss me
Oh.
off,
Mm-hmm.
it would be insane if I were to show up to your house and torch it, right? That would be crazy. That would be a lot, right? Just because you annoy me.
Would
Yeah,
it?
but why would that be a lot?
Crazy.
Why would that be a lot, though?
Because it is not equal to the insult that you dealt me.
So if
Fuck
it is
your
the case
house.
then that I'm fighting with a man who is weaker than myself, but he punches me first, I should only use an equal amount of force to stop that threat?
Yes.
So if
When
it is the case,
my younger siblings have hit me before,
Mhm.
I have not. And I'm 10 years older than my younger sister and 6 years older than my baby brother. There was a point in time where I was larger than my little brother.
Okay.
When they kicked me or punched me, I didn't use all of my power to break their fucking noses, even though
I
I
see.
could have.
Why
So
Because I
somebody
didn't
breaks.
understand that someone, if
They
someone is
probably would
physically
have
weaker
never
than them,
touched you
than me,
again.
it is not appropriate to use.
So
all of
then,
my
by
power
this
to
logic,
decimate
if
them.
somebody broke into your house and made the stated
Mhm.
declaration that they're only there
Fuck
to take your
them
stuff
up.
but won't hurt you, you should not be able to retaliate with physical violence, correct?
I mean, they're on your property. So
Wait a
it's kind of
second.
like-
Oh, wait a second. It has to be proportional, though, remember? So if a person shows up to your house and says, I'm just here to take all your stuff, but I'm not going to hurt you, the only proportional thing you could do back would be to take their stuff, right?
No, it's not about doing the exact same thing.
Oh, it's
in-
not. So what does
uh,
proportional mean then?
Like within the same range.
I
What
mean,
does that
I-
mean, though? What does that
I
mean?
do
If a
generally
person's
believe
walking
in an
out with
eye
my
for an
TV and
eye.
I blast his ass, is that permitted?
I mean, depends on the state you're in. But personally, for
No,
me,
I'm asking
how
you.
I would handle that.
Yeah.
I would probably shoot him in the leg or something. I don't know.
Oh, so do you think, so you would shoot him in the femoral artery?
No, not the thigh. The leg.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, is the thigh part of the leg?
Well, hang on. What is the greatest deterrent to somebody coming onto your property and robbing you?
A massive
you wanna-
shotgun?
No.
Yes.
It is a well-lit property.
No.
Well-locked
Yeah.
door.
around.
Nope.
No,
Actually,
actually, specifically, yeah, that is
actually,
true.
actually,
Go
no.
look that up. You can look it
Not
up.
only-
And
not only
ask
can-
any law enforcement source, they will tell you the greatest deterrent against
Bro, I
crime
taught,
is to
listen,
make sure
listen,
that
I've taught
criminals feel
CPL
safe when they
classes.
walk on you.
I've taught CPL class my whole
I
life.
was a journalist. I've talked to
Yeah,
million
what's,
police officers.
let me tell you what the
about
biggest
this. I've covered
deterrent.
multiple
Oh,
break-ins.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
tell
let me
what
ask you a
the-
question. How come Black Lives Matter didn't riot in the fucking countryside, even though there was massive populations in the countryside? How come they didn't do it in conservative states? Why?
You know who did riot?
Who?
For the most part?
Who?
Anarchists.
Okay, why didn't they riot where there was red states with real
Because
loose
most
gun
of them
laws?
are angry kids who live in urban areas
Tell me.
and ride the bus everywhere.
It's
So,
due to the
countryside.
where the
Why did it not
populations
happen in country-
where the
We're
populations
we're
are that are being
maneuvering
targeted by
the-
police. So the majority of Black Americans do not live in the rural countryside.
Except in Mississippi?
I'm not familiar with Mississippi.
You're not familiar with the largest
But
population
I
of
am
black
from
people, which is
California.
Mississippi?
I am from California, and the rural countryside towns that had mostly white and Latino people living there.
I'm sorry, was BLM a
It is
national movement?
primarily secular.
That, yeah, BLM was
I'm
a
talking
national
about where the
movement.
fuck I lived, buddy.
That's
But,
great.
uh,
What I'm saying is,
usually
And does
Yeah.
California, hang
and
on,
people do
this is
not feel
great.
persecuted by
Does
police when they
California
do
have
riot.
highly restrictive gun laws?
They do actually, yes.
How come then, in the great state of, for instance, of Arkansas, did you not see a bunch of BLM people
Actually,
move
California
in?
has the most gun deaths in the country.
Yes, that's because there's a massive
what,
minority
move
population
in?
there who kills each other with guns, mostly handguns.
Yes, so we have guns.
No,
That's
no,
not
it has
right.
nothing to do with
Hold on.
guns.
Like, yes,
It's not the
people have
guns,
guns.
lady. It's not the
They kill
guns.
each other.
Hey,
Do you
hey,
think that
hang
it's
on, hang on.
people
Help me
that
out.
Hey,
kill
here,
each
we're
other?
talking
I
about-
don't know what the fuck you're
Hang
talking
on,
about.
help me out here. Can you just help me out here?
Why the fuck are we talking
All
about
right.
BLM?
Wait,
Because you brought it
what
up.
argument is he
Dumbass
making?
hypotheticals, and we're not talking
Oh, it's a
about
dumbass
ideology.
hypothetical.
Oh, you're
We're
probably
not
right.
talking about
Can we all agree to
ideology.
that? Can we set this up?
I ain't gonna lie, though.
Andrew, would you agree to the question?
Yeah, I'll take.
I think she did that thing where somebody brings up a specific topic in the middle of a debate, and then they wonder why you like start talking about it. Like they wonder why a tangent started. It's like, nigga, you brought it up. We wouldn't be talking about this if you hadn't have brought it up. I hate when motherfuckers do that shit. Like, what do you mean? Why are we talking about it? You were the one who brought it up. Now you don't want to talk about it because you're getting proven wrong. I think that's what she just did. It's kind of crazy. Now, I don't necessarily, I don't think I agree with the point he's making, but continue.
Take any
One.
questions you have, but you got to actually let me answer them like I've been willing to do for you.
Can you define property?
Yeah, so I actually think I did this in my opening, but I'll do it again. So I would consider property to be a declaration of possession plus the force to back up the possession.
So if you saw a piece of property that you wanted, you could take it by force, and that would be okay?
That
Because
doesn't
that's
logically, that doesn't
That's
logically follow.
that is what you outlined there.
No, it's not.
You
What I
didn't
outlined-
outline an exchange
No,
of
okay, listen,
money.
listen. I'll explain. I'll
He
show
said
you.
it's things that you have that you can.
Hang on,
tap
hang on.
into.
I'll prove my point for you.
I
So you
don't-
understand exactly what I mean. The headphones
No.
that are on your ears.
It is true that you only own something so far as you can defend it, but that also only really applies because people will attempt to take what you already possess. Like, so it's not necessarily it's not necessarily required for you to possess it. Like, if you own something and it's yours, you're the one who has it. Just because somebody comes and takes it and you're not able to properly defend it doesn't mean that you don't own it. So I don't necessarily like what he just said, like, you know, you own it and you have the ability to defend it. Like, you don't have to have the ability to defend something that you just have. something that you have, you own. Because when we talk about like the force to defend it, it's like, well, you always are gonna have some level of force to defend it, but somebody else is always gonna have like some disproportionate force that they could use to take it away from you. Like there's always gonna be somebody with the amount of force that they could just, overpower whatever the fuck you have and take your shit from you. It doesn't mean that you don't own it. So I don't really like the way he said that.
Do you own them?
Yes,
What gives you ownership of them?
I have a receipt.
So you have a declaration that you own them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if somebody tried to steal them, would you be willing to apply force or the force of the state in order to stop them from taking those headphones from you, which you've made the declaration you own?
I think so.
Depends.
Okay, well then,
But-
you and I have now decided that what ownership means is declaration plus force. Anything else?
Let's get us back to our original question.
Which
Did
is,
the Native Americans own the land they were on?
this is a great question, because according to your debate partner, the Native Americans had no ideals of land ownership. So how is it that if you have a
so
social...
let me correct my quote
can I-
there. Let me-
okay,
and I
yeah,
said
go
that,
ahead, go ahead and correct it, but read the whole thing.
Land
They'd be
ownership
somewhat
quotes is
incorrect
not
with
a
that. Like, I
universal
mean-
concept.
Can you read it? Can
Indigenous
you read it
peoples-
again?
Sure. Because when discussing
Ownership,
colonization,
kind
it is important to clarify that land ownership is not a universal concept. The indigenous peoples
Not
of the Americas don't have the same
necessarily.
structures as
Oh.
European settlers.
I think the
So when we
idea
talk
is
about who
that
has the right to specific tracts of land and
Mhm.
why, my conception of land rights can be some.
I think the idea for the natives would be more that like we all kind of own the land, or that we don't necessarily own the land. They had some kind of idea of like, being entitled to their ancestral land or something like that. But like, I think because they were a little bit more in tune with nature, they would probably say something like, none of us necessarily own the land, but we're all like responsible for it, something like that. And we can't all occupy the same space. So like, I think they understood that there were like, borders and territories if like people wanted to have their own like, tribes or whatever. I don't think they had the European concept of like, oh, we own this land, like we can take some deed and this deed proves that I have ownership of this land like you would for like some other kind of possession. I don't think that that's the way they viewed land ownership. I think they differentiated it just in a different way than the way Europeans did.
Found that by Article 26 of the United Nations Declaration on the
by
Rights of Indigenous
Europeans?
People.
So you're going to appeal to
Indigenous
Europeans?
peoples have the right to lands,
Mm.
territories, and resources which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used and acquired, and that is typically.
So you're
how
going to
Indigenous
appeal
peoples
to
did it.
what Europeans decide land ownership is, even though the natives themselves had no concept of what land ownership was by your own
Well, they
metric.
do now.
Oh, but they do now.
They
So,
do now.
We
But
forced
they
them
do
to have
now.
a European framework.
But
dude.
wait,
What
didn't
do you
we?
mean? We killed them, most
But-
of them, and now they are forced to operate under a European framework. That's
Okay,
what
so
we have now.
so
This
so
is what
then
we have.
so
What am I
I just
supposed
want
to
to hang on. I'm willing to grant all of your arguments to show you how absurd they are. You want to appeal to a United Nations European standard for what land ownership means, right?
Sure, I'm telling you that.
So
that is
you would take the
indigenous-
sovereignty
indigenous.
away from the original natives who were there, who did not agree that that's what land ownership meant, right?
What are you referencing?
Did original natives, by your own opening statement, right, did they understand the concept of land ownership or not?
Yeah, obviously they had territories that were, yes, indeed fought over.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
The same,
okay.
they had
the same
territory.
principle. The issue here is
It's the same principle?
They understood
Yes.
territory.
Then how come you're not appealing to
Tribes
like the
stealing-
Apache
tribes
version of land
stealing-
ownership, but you're appealing to the UN European version of
Well,
land
because we
ownership?
killed most of them. Like, I don't know what you mean.
So they don't. So because there's so few of them, they can't figure out what land ownership means.
No, it's because we're working in a different context now.
It's because you're appealing to European ideals of ownership, not to Native American ideals of ownership, and
Yeah.
you haven't even
That
justified.
would actually.
But here's
most
what-
you
likely
haven't even
follow-
justified why
that
we
would
should appeal
actually
to
follow
those.
What the indigenous idea of land ownership.
Okay,
is.
then tell me
She's
how.
right
Tell me-
about
tell me
that.
how.
She's
Tell me how
appealing to
follow.
European ideas.
Essentially, if you work the land, it's yours.
Says who? Which Native American said this? So I can look up his quotes.
It was actually
Which
John
Native
Locke.
American?
Oh, so John Locke is an
John
Indian. John Locke, famous European philosopher John Locke. Wow,
Well,
man, you
buddy-
really got me with that one.
But we could go over every single tribe and how they defined land ownership.
Well,
There
if
are
I'm
so
buddy, you're
many tribes.
madame, and
What I mean-
madame, let's
what I
go over
mean-
each one.
What I mean, do you think that like ancient man had no concept? Like, do you think that like it wasn't until like the fucking Renaissance that we understood like that if you live in a place,
Yes,
that's
finally,
you're
we're there.
You're meant to live
Yes,
there
we're finally there. So how did ancient man identify ownership of a thing, do you think?
by working it, by living on it.
And what would happen if somebody came around who they didn't want to take their shit? What do you think ancient man did to them?
They would fight and kill each
Oh,
other.
they'd fucking kill him! Yes, they would
Listen,
fucking kill him!
I need you to
Yes!
listen to me with
Holy
your ears.
shit!
I need
This
you
is
to listen to me
amazing.
with your ears and thoughts. My
I'm
argument
listening
is not
very
that the Force
closely.
doctrine does not exist. My point was that it is
He
not
getting real
good.
animated right now.
Oh, it's not. It
And
doesn't.
in addition, when you apply the Force doctrine, you will be retaliated against. I would also like to point out
So
that
more force doctrine?
Yeah.
Not good.
yeah, and it's a never-ending cycle, and it's bad. That was my opening point. Did you not
Okay,
listen to
hang
me?
on. So I want to make sure we got it right, and I want to make sure that you remember when I asked your debate partner,
Like
sir,
this is
do
a
you
cookie that
will
should be
you
on the
concede
top.
that our view of
They put
force
this on the
doctrine
bottom.
is what? What is it, sir?
Archaic.
What is it?
Your view of force doctrine is that men are stronger, and so they must be the
No,
ones to allow.
I didn't say any of that. I
all.
just said that men are the grantors of rights, right?
And who made them that way?
Men.
Right. Nature made them that way, right? Why? Why are men stronger?
You mean fundamentally?
Why did nature make men stronger?
Well, I mean, who knows?
Was it to conquer women?
Again,
Is that the purpose of our big muscle?
why I don't understand why you're asking me the purpose of the thing, which descriptively you agree is true.
No, I'm asking you, biologically, evolutionarily,
How the fuck do I
why
know?
are men...
I'm sorry. Am I
You could-
responsible
you
for
could
fucking
speculate.
evolution?
Just
Am I responsible for evolution?
you could talk about evolution. In
Did
fact,
I go?
I
Did
mean,
I?
he
Did I?
could
Did
just
I
answer
use
the
the
question.
machinations
Might
of
have
Andrew
people on
Wilson's
the
great
truth,
psyche
Andrew.
to figure out evolution?
Why
You
are
might
men
be
like
darn
that?
close
I don't
to
know why
figuring
he's not
something
just
out
answering the
here.
question.
Yeah. So
Why are men bigger? Why, in general, in nature,
from an
are
evolutionary
male
view?
animals
Okay,
larger
I'll
and
explain.
stronger?
I'll explain the best I can from an evolutionary view. From an
Why did
evolutionary
you
view,
do that from the beginning?
we're looking at survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest is going to be if it is the case that you have a species which is engaging with its environment and this and that, and it doesn't make it, right? It is sourced out, right? It's gone. You agree with that? That's what survival of the fittest is?
Why didn't women develop strength then?
Because they have the ability to rear children, which gives them a different physiological makeup, right?
Maybe.
Not
But
maybe.
there is nothing in nature that says females can't be bigger and stronger. Female hyenas
Yes,
are
there
bigger and
is.
stronger than male ones.
Yes, there is. There's lots of things inside of nature which determine that Homo sapien males are going to be bigger and stronger than females who have the reproductive organs. And here's
Why
why.
do the
Here's
reproductive organs matter?
I'll
I mean,
explain.
there are
You
women
have
in
to
this
have.
world who can kick their ass.
Bro, I'm going to
Let's go
explain.
one at a
I'm going to explain. So here's the thing. If we're looking at the physiology between men and women, you agree with me that women can give childbirth and men can't.
Biologically, yeah.
Yeah. Does that require things like a uterus? Does that require ovaries? Does that require menstruation cycles? Does that require all sorts of things which physiologically are going to create a distinct makeup?
Yeah, again, you're describing things as they are. I'm asking you.
Bro,
why
I'm
they are as
asking
they
you.
are.
Hang on. I just want to make sure we agree on this. Do you agree with me that that's going to require distinct physiology, physical characteristics which are different from that of males who cannot do those tasks?
Yeah, but
So if that's a requirement of that, then it would follow that if it was natural selection and we were following evolution, which is a gradual change over species over hundreds of millions of years, that men and women who are the same species developed separately based on skill sets, one for the purposes of rearing children and one for the purposes of protecting those who rear children. Yeah.
protecting. Interesting. Interesting. That's why they're bigger, right? Not to subjugate, to protect.
Yeah, but
To
here's the
preserve.
problem with this, right? Can you protect people by subjugating them?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
You can protect your people. No, before you do before you do the gotcha, let me give you the other side of that. All right. You
Okay,
ready?
give me the other side. I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, sure.
So the other side of that is that you might be able to protect your people by subjugating other people. That doesn't necessarily
Can you protect your
make
people
it
by
a
subjugating
moral
your own
imperative.
people?
In other words, if
We're not talking about morality.
Let me finish. If I were
Okay,
an
I'll
early
let you
European
finish.
settler and I came to the United States,
This has nothing to do with what we're talking
hold
about.
on,
Let's stick with what we're
did they
talking
have
about.
other
Listen.
options? Did they have places they could
Oh
go
my
to?
God, this is such a gish gallop. This means nothing. Answer my fucking question.
literally
Can
talking about
can
me. He is
people
getting to his point.
protect?
Yes.
No, I want an
Shut the
answer to
fuck
my
up. He's
question.
getting
You shut
to
the
his
fuck up,
point.
lady.
Let
I want to
me-
know.
let me
I
finish.
wanna
Let
know.
me
Gotta
answer
go.
the point right
Answer
now.
the fucking
Stop
question
trying to tell
first.
the black woman.
Answer the question
We're not
first.
Let him
getting
make his
anywhere if
point.
everybody's going
Listen,
to yell over each
I
other.
want to know the answer to my question, and then he can make his point. Is it the case, sir, or not, that you can subjugate a group of people and protect them through subjugation? Is that
the
true or
question-
not?
Hang on. The
Answer the
question here
fucking
is-
question and
I'm
then
getting
ask
to
yours.
that.
He's
Hold
answering
on.
the
If
question.
you
I
just
can't
maybe
say.
shut the
All right,
hell up
I'm
for
gonna
a
go
second
get a drink
and let
while
me
you
just
never
talk.
answer this question.
Go get a drink.
So you're running away.
He's not
By getting a
running.
drink?
We can
Go
rewatch it
drink,
later
you're
and
running
learn.
away.
That's running away, getting a drink.
Hey,
All right.
Andrew,
So if you go to the bathroom, that's running away.
maybe if he
All
leaves, we
right.
can take a
Run
moment to
away from
educate the
the
audience.
conversation.
Just
actively
going to
discussing
ask
them.
everyone kindly. I love the entertainment factor, but it's getting to the point where I can't understand what the fuck any of you are saying. If
This
we
is
could just take a
hilarious
step back,
right
calm down a little bit. We'll get through the questions one at a time. If we could be mindful of each other and respectful. Thank you.
Just answer the question and then ask your question, and I'll do the same for you.
Answering the question.
Yeah, okay. Can you answer it? Then can you subjugate a group of people and protect them at the same time through subjugation?
What is
yes or no?
the prompt for this debate?
The prompt right now is whether or not it's immoral to take land by force.
So if I take land by force, because I think that
You still haven't answered my question. You
if I
just evaded.
subjugate other people, because in my mind,
God, this guy. You can't.
That
You're
is-
incapable of
Hold on,
answering
hold on,
questions.
Can you
Hold
let
on,
me answer,
Andrew.
please?
Let's,
What?
let's-
Okay, then I'll tell you what.
hold on,
I'm going to
hold on.
not say a word, but I'm just going to come right back to this. I'm not going to let you evade, and I'm going to make you answer this fucking question. So you might as well just answer it now. Can you subjugate people and protect them through subjugation or not?
the prompt is whether that would
Not
be
answering the
immoral.
fucking question,
Hold on.
dude.
The prompt that we're debating, and you said you were going to be quiet and let me finish. So let's see how you do. The debate that we are having is whether such an action is moral or immoral. So yes, I would concede the point that you can absolutely protect your people through subjugation. The question then becomes, is that moral? If you had another alternative where you could go elsewhere and not kill, maim, destroy, and steal, wouldn't that be the more moral?
You haven't. Well, hang on. You haven't actually shown us yet how subjugation requires theft, stealing, and any of this.
You define subjugation then. How would you go about it?
Well, no, it's your claim. I don't need to define your fucking
You
claim,
asked
dude.
the question. Can
Yeah,
you,
I asked you the question. I don't define your answer for you, dude.
then you're
it's
saying that the
useful to
answer I
answer the
gave doesn't
question,
satisfy the question you
No,
asked.
I'm saying I'm just asking for the answer. Demonstrate for me that subjugation requires theft or any immorality at all. Demonstrate it.
You need to define subjugation.
No, by your definition.
You need to define it. You have
Why would I need to define your
because
fucking
otherwise
view,
I
dude?
don't know what the hell you're asking.
You don't know what I'm asking when I ask you about your view?
If subjugation is to come in and just chop everybody's heads off and put them on pikes outside the town.
Yeah, that would be bad. Can you show why that's a necessary condition of subjugation?
Put them on a train and take them to a gas chamber somewhere.
Okay, right now, do you have to follow the laws of this nation?
Ideally, yeah.
Is that subjugation?
How much longer that's
Is that subjugation?
In what way?
Whatever way you consider subjugation to be. Is that subjugation?
It's subjugation in an attempt to stop people from harming others.
So yes, it's subjugation. So, and would you agree with the Greeks when the Greeks said without law there can be no freedom?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So then what you're admitting there is that you can subjugate an entire group of people for their own protection. That's fucking good.
No, you didn't ask that question. You said,
I didn't need to ask the question. It's an entailment of your own logic, dude. That's an entailment of your logic. How am I changing the question?
Because the original question was, can you protect your people by subjugating another group of people?
And you said yes.
Certainly you can. But the
okay, then great.
We're asking
that's the end of that
then. Moral.
Yeah, okay.
In other words, you can.
Okay.
Should you?
Here, let's find out if this is true. We'll just do a logic test. Is taxation theft?
It can be.
Yeah, is it?
Not definitionally.
Why?
Because generally you're getting something for that money.
What if you don't want it?
Clean water, you're getting clean air.
Yeah, what if you don't want it, though? What if you don't want any of that and you want to keep your stuff and they tax it anyway? Is that theft?
You don't have to pay your taxes.
You do have, or what happens if you don't?
You might lose your property.
And do you agree with that law?
I think
All right, let him answer. Let him answer, lady. Let him answer, lady. Let him
You
answer,
should
lady.
use
Let him
less
answer,
words.
lady. Let him answer. Answer the question.
I feel like he's like at the same time.
Can you answer the question? If you don't pay your property taxes, should you default on the property or not, sir?
By law, yeah.
Do you believe that that's moral?
I believe that in certain circumstances, it's not given the.
Okay, so which circumstances are those?
If
Holy
you're
shit.
retired and you're on a fixed income and you've lost your inability, if you're poor and your government passed a shitty bill that cost you your health care and caused you to add up a ton more debt.
Okay.
If you had student loans that you've long ago paid off and you still have $30,000 in interest to pay off, and the government comes and says, no more grace, we're going to take everything you own.
Got it. I got it. Now we got three great examples. Hey, we got 3 great examples of how it's immoral. Now give me 3 great examples of why it's moral.
I think in the case of if you're using that money to make life better for other people, then I would support that.
Okay, so if it's the case that the government comes in,
check.
Sorry, give me 3. Give me 3. Just like you gave me 3 for why it's immoral, give me 3 for why it's moral.
I can't think of a third option.
You can't think of a third option. So you support property taxes because you think the government is taking that money and then redistributing it to other people.
What is that?
No, I think they're distributing it to services for other people, including.
So to other people. Okay, great. So then, why is it the case then?
Should I be responsible for paving my own road for a certain distance, or?
I'm not making any of these claims. I'm just saying to you. I would like to point out to you, real quick, sir, what you said theft was. I'm going to pull up your own definition of it. Repossession of a piece of property when you could have gained it a different way. So by your definition, you are now in a literal performative contradiction, A and not A. You claim that theft is repossession of property when you could have gained it a different way. And then at the same time, you say it's perfectly acceptable to repossess property if it's gained through the same exact means as long as it's redistributed to other people. You're in direct contradiction.
That guy's definition for what
A and not A. Hang on, I want you to answer to your contradiction. That's A and not A, sir.
I'm getting there, but I'm going to ask a different question to get there. Ready? Were you in favor of student loan forgiveness? Why or why not?
No.
Why not?
Well, you took out the debt. You got to pay the debt back.
I hated that.
Why is it different on your house, on your property taxes?
I really
use
hated
resources.
that.
It's not. I don't believe taxation's theft. It's your logic, dude.
No, you're asking whether I believe it's moral to repossess property if you don't pay the property tax.
And you said it is.
I said
and then you said that what theft is repossession of property. Repossession of property which you could have gained through another means. Could the government have just bought your house? That would be another means. And yet you're saying it's perfectly fine for them to seize your house if you don't pay your property tax as long as they're distributing it to another person. That's A and not A. It's a direct contradiction. You idiot.
That's a horrible definition of theft.
How are these people this fucking stupid? How are you people this fucking stupid? How are you a journalist for 18 years,
Aren't
dude?
you a dad? Why are you having a panic attack?
To be fair, though.
Good Lord.
To be fair, the definition he gave in his opening, I'm pretty sure that was a better definition. Because he said like the unauthorized taking of something or something like that. But when he asked him, he gave him a different definition. He didn't give him the same definition he had in his opening. At least from what I heard. But he's pegging him on the definition. Pause. The definition that he gave him when he asked him the question. So he's making him stick to that definition, which is a bad definition. And I don't know where. I think I got an echo again, but whatever. Just ignore it for now.
More alcohol, maybe will calm.
Yeah, well, I need it. You got to understand, from my end, you sound like the dumbest human beings that I've ever talked to. You just gave me a direct logical contradiction and then said, no, that's not absurd because my feelings and stuff.
No, because you allow no nuance. You want an answer that
I would have given you the nuance.
You don't actually argue Like, you just.
What do you think an argument is?
argue about
You don't even know what an
freedom.
argument is.
It's a fucking
We're not getting
nightmare.
All right,
clarification
let's
if
get
we're
back
asking
on
for it.
nightmare.
track. Marte, would you like to chime in? You've been pretty quiet.
This is nonsense.
Fucking
This is
stupid
crazy.
people.
The opinions from like what we're getting is
Marte in the
not
cuck chair.
clarification from
Marte
your
in
end.
the fucking cuck
I mean,
chair.
that's the thing, though. Is like we can talk about people oppressing people, but we have a populace here, the prison population. Like that's conducive to our environment to helping other people by oppressing that class of people.
He
Would
said
you
in the
release all these
cuck
murders
chair.
to the public. Like that's the thing, though. This can bleed over into other areas of life.
Wait, no.
And like all we're asking for is your position.
But look, this nigga is doing exactly what I said he would do. He's doing exactly what I said he would do. He ain't saying shit. He in the background, basically letting Andrew do the entire fucking debate, which I can get it to a certain degree, but at the same time, it's also like Andrew might as well just be debating these two on his own. This guy's been basically fucking useless the entire debate. I don't even know why they letting him chime in now. It's just like barely made an argument in his opener. Just he's not really engaging in this debate much. He's just kind of like spectating. I'm not gonna lie.
To clarify this, and then we're getting pushback by saying, I don't want to clarify this. All it boils down to, and all we want to do is get clarification for your position and understand what makes this right. And we can't even get that. We still haven't gotten that throughout this whole debate.
So why don't, if you think we can't answer, why do you think it is moral? Why do you think the colonization of America was moral?
We're asking you if it's moral, if it's right, and we can't even get that from you.
You agree with the force doctrine, man. So tell us, why is it moral?
Did I say I agree with force doctrine?
Is this not the fucking opening of this, how this whole thing began? Was your threads where you're all about, what was the exact thing that you said specifically, this argument that started?
Oh, you're going to go into my threads again, where this guy
there's no such, there is just not
Great,
stolen
let's
land,
do
it's
it.
conquered land, the spoils of war go to the victor, been happening for centuries and will continue for centuries more. And you have argued that this is moral.
So a descriptor.
Why?
No,
Why?
I never said morality in there. I'm just offering a description of something
You're
that happened.
descriptors.
You're
Do you feel that
confusing
it is
our
moral?
point.
Do you feel that it is moral?
Is that something that happened? Did I say ought happened anywhere in that post that I put up?
No.
So your position is that it's moral, though? Is that
No.
not the
There was
position
no
that you
moral
are
claim
meant
that I
to be
made on that.
arguing?
Sometimes. So I
I'm
would make
sorry,
the.
when I got the prompt for this debate, it said, prompt, is it immoral to take land by force?
Yes.
No, Andrew Wilson and Marte. Yes,
Yes,
Charlie
you're
and
asking me about the
personality, of
prompt now.
course.
You were asking me about my post, which is a completely unrelated thing as far as morality. Now we're talking about the prompt. Yes, now we
So
can
we're
get
asking
more
you
into
to add the component of
It's
morality
moral
to
to
it.
take land by force.
I think that's a fair.
Why?
Hang on, I think that's a fair
that's
question.
the prompt. We can
So
go
when you
back to
ask now, finally, you're actually getting to a fair question. So when is it moral to take land? That's what we're really asking here, right?
Yes,
So when is it moral to take land? Ever?
I want to ask you.
Well, okay. Well, let's start with this. Can both sides agree that it is
That's
sometimes moral to take land?
Probably the most
By force?
relevant question for the debate.
I would say just. I'm not going to apply the word morality to that.
What? What? I'm sorry.
What is
Should,
it?
hang on,
Go
hang on.
back to your
Should you
property
do?
tax question.
Is it?
If
Hang
I-
on.
if I
Should you do
reclaim
what is
your
just?
property because you're not paying your property taxes, that might not be moral. That's not a moral question. That's a question of
I'm sorry.
law.
Justice has a moral implication. Should you do what's just?
Justice doesn't always have
Can you
moral.
please
It always
answer the
does.
question? Can you provide
No,
what you think
just-
you said you think it is sometimes moral to take land. Can you
Just
provide
is
examples
more-
of
like,
when you
that's-
think it is sometimes
Yeah, I
moral?
thought it was just
Within
fine
the
for, like,
definition
Soviet
of
Union to
moral.
invade Nazi Germany.
That's like
They take
almost
their
a
land.
synonym for moral.
I thought it was fine for us to invade the Japanese islands and take that land. I thought that was fine too. I also think that it's fine if you come across like a people group. Like I'll give you an example. I'm going to tell you this example. It's a little bit of a hit in the gut, but you can look it up if you think I'm lying to you. They're called the Cum Warriors of Papua New Guinea. And I'm going to explain. And I know how this sounds, but you can Google it right now if you think I'm lying to you.
Oh God, why does
And
he
here's
always
what they do.
talk about
Warriors
this?
of
This is
Papua
just
New
like a huge pause in
They
and
like
of itself.
to make
like-
the little children, the boys inside their tribe, well, fill up in the most disgusting way
I
you can
hate that
imagine
he
on
likes
innocent
using
women
this
in order
example
to
so
have a
much.
right
It's
of
like it
privacy.
makes me think that
Now,
he
under Christian
likes
ethics, I'm
fucking
fine putting all
talking
these
about
fuckers to the sword. Like,
fucking
I'm fine
cum.
with that. Taking children out of
This is
that
just
domain
fucking,
and
like, pause, bro.
redistributing them somewhere else. But can you actually claim the same thing? Can you even claim, if it is the case, these children, they
Where's the
love
light
this,
at?
they say, I want this, that's all they say is that they want to stay, they love this is their rite of passage, because it's culturally relative? Can you even make a claim that it's bad? Can you even tell me why that would be bad from your view?
I mean, yes, I think that the abuse of children is wrong because those
How,
are
well,
vulnerable
okay,
individuals. Those are
but
vulnerable
abuse,
individuals that we
how can it
should-
be abuse if they're demanding it, lady?
if they're demanding to be
Yeah.
raped?
Yeah, well, how can it be rape if you're demanding it?
Because it's a
Children
child
are
that doesn't
agreeable.
know what's
Yeah, but you see,
What
the
is
problem is with your
appropriate?
relativism, the problem with your relative view, right, is that even child is relative to you. It's all culturally dependent. What is a child even relative from your view? Everything is fucking culturally
in the
relative to you.
21st century. We have a pretty complete definition of child.
Who's
which is
we?
prepubescent.
Who the fuck is we? They don't.
If you say the word child, the vast
They
majority
don't
of
have the
people
same view.
understand that
Why
it
are
means
they
that you
wrong? Why
referred
are
to.
they wrong? Why are they wrong?
Because that's
Why?
a vulnerable human being that they are touching. In
Yeah,
a way
so
that is
but
very
here's the
adult.
thing. Again, the idea of what is a child for you is relative to the culture, right?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so then if they say a fucking 12-year-old boy is a man, who the fuck are you to say they're not?
Because I can observe that is not a man.
Well, how? Give me the objective metric for what is manhood.
Has not hit puberty yet. It's still very much.
They hit
growing.
puberty at 12.
So-
Yeah.
Okay, you look at a teenage boy, you're gonna tell me that's a man.
Tell me what your metric for manhood is.
Has reached maturity.
What does that mean? When is
Physical
that?
maturity.
When?
When you're done fucking growing.
When is that?
Do you not? know when you're done.
Yeah, you don't know.
growing.
So what I'm
When you're
asking
done
you is like,
growing.
when is manhood for a man? When does that kick in? Tell me.
I guess it would be relative, dependent on when.
Yeah, it's fucking
when-
exactly. It's
the end
relative
of
depending
puberty.
on the
But
culture.
you are being ridiculous. There's absolutely
being ridiculous.
an age group that, by and by, we all agree are children. And by the way,
Prepubescent? Prepubescent?
yes, prepubescent.
And are they prepubescent at 12?
They could be.
But the ones who
Going
aren't?
through-
The ones
going
who
through
aren't?
Going through puberty is very much not the same as having finished puberty.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. So if they finish at 13, fine, they're men.
Not finished puberty at 13.
You can? Yeah, of course
Has
you
their
can.
brain finished developing? Can they have like?
Let's say that their
like,
brain did finish
logical
developing. Their
judgments?
brain finished developing at 13, and by the way, if you're going off of that, then you're not a man until you're 25. How can you consent?
That study isn't really reputable because they stopped studying
Agreed.
the subjects at age 25, so that's not really.
I
would say
totally
when
and
you-
completely
when you can make-
agree.
I agree.
When you can make sound, reasonable judgments.
When is that?
When you don't do stupid shit.
When is that?
Insanely Stupid shit.
Give me the age.
Depends. It
When
fucking
yes,
depends.
that's right. It depends. So you have no objective metric for when these people are even
Well, that's
like
well, 'cause
all
there
you're
also
doing
could
is
be-
giving me
there are adults
bullshit.
who can't do that. There are severely disabled adults.
So you don't have a
who
standard at all. Nothing
severely
set.
No standard
disabled
for
adults
anything.
Who cannot understand the consequences of their actions.
Now, let me-
nor can
okay.
they
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie,
manage
she's
interactions
not,
with
I'll
others.
just grant all this.
Sexual interactions with other adults.
If you came across,
She's not
you and
she's
I,
not doing
let's
too
just
good
say, like
here.
a company came and we were on an
I
expedition.
still hate that
on
he
an
uses
expedition.
this.
And we came across
Just like
this tribe
example.
in Papua New Guinea where they do that to boys as a rite of passage. And I
It
ordered
makes
my
for
men
some good
to
rhetoric,
go
I
in there
guess, but like
and just
it's
take these fuckers out, gun them down, and we're getting these kids the fuck out of here. Did I do anything wrong?
just
Could you have
nasty.
gone about
To
it a
gun
different way?
down
The nasty topic.
They don't wanna go. Yeah, they don't wanna go.
You see a man currently sexually abusing a child.
Yeah, that's
and you
right.
physically attack him. I think good. If it is just this is my knowledge of this tribe
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, you go and
Yeah.
kill them all bad.
Wait, I don't understand. So you want me to leave the boys here to get molested?
No, but there are other approaches that
What?
you can take.
Okay, give me the approach.
There are certainly many cultures that have practices that I strongly disagree with. And within those cultures, you can oftentimes find groups of people that are advocating against those practices. And what you can do is you can fucking support them.
Okay, but it's relative. So you can actually say that their perception of what is immoral is worse than yours because it's relative, right?
I think the
Well, we
bigger
fucking
question.
Yeah, let her
agree. If
answer,
we
let her
agree on
answer.
it, if we agree on something, then
They
we
don't agree with you.
we both want it.
They don't agree with you.
Yeah,
So
I
what
mean,
makes your
that's
standard
if you
superior?
believe it's relative.
Will they
like-
never agree with her?
They
It's
just
their
don't. They
culture. I'm
object.
talking
That's their
about, like,
culture.
I'm discussing,
Culture
like, for
changes,
example, feminists in Iran.
Mhm.
Those are groups that I agree with that do not agree. With
I agree.
the
You agree with them.
moral
What makes their
perceptions of their
standard
country.
more correct if it's just culturally relative?
Because they are having their freedoms restricted.
What
and are
makes
put in
that more?
harm's
If that's
way.
cultural, do you know what relativism means? It means
Yes,
it's just
I'm
as
aware.
good there as it is here. So if that's the case, if it's all relative, how could you say that your standard for feminism is better or worse than their standard for oppressing women? How?
Because you can observe that some people are coming to harm and are unhappy with their treatment.
You can observe that under feminism.
You can observe harm coming to women.
But
that
why
are
would a
unable
harm
to
standard,
feel
if it's
like they're-
culturally relative, be? Are you saying it's objectively worse?
I would say that anything that infringes upon people's ability to live the way they want in a way that is not harming other people. I
It's
think
their
that
culture,
infringes
they're
upon those
accepting
rights.
So then it's not culturally relative.
I think that cultural relative doesn't mean that there is no.
Wait, there's universal
Let's just say
ethics. Wait, is there universal standards? Are you about to make a universal claim?
No, I would say that generally,
Oh, wait, no, you're gonna contradict
sometimes
yourself.
people
Sorry.
share the same values. As
Yeah,
I
but they
do.
don't share the same values. And isn't
No,
it? If it's the
feminist
case that it's
groups-
relative.
The feminist groups that are there
Mhm.
advocating for themselves.
Yeah, but the
that share my values, I would
non-feminists.
support
Why are the
them.
non-feminists wrong if it's relative? Wouldn't it be equal to your view?
If the people that are experiencing these injustices disagree with them, then I would support the people who are
They
experiencing
don't
injustices and
disagree with
share my
them.
views.
If they don't disagree with them,
There are
they
feminist
aren't.
movements in Iran.
If they don't disagree with them, are they wrong? If you're a cultural relativist,
Are they wrong?
yeah.
You have a right to
The
determine
idea
what's
that
by
they
right.
my
wouldn't
standards, yes,
disagree
I
with
would
them.
say
is
By
that.
kinda
your
crazy,
stance, so,
I
but
ain't
by
gonna lie.
But I am
relativism,
not God.
got it.
I
So,
mean,
if
like,
it was
it's
the
also
case
it's like
that you
it's
came
basically
across a
talking
tribe
about a
where they
situation
were
of grooming
diddling
here.
these little boys.
I mean,
You can't tell me that objectively.
he's really holding their
they're even
feet to
doing
the
anything wrong
fire,
either.
but it's
I
like,
am
I mean,
dead certain because in nearly every
it's a
society that I
very
can
weird
think of,
topic.
So
to
you're
do
gonna
it
make a
with,
universal
that's
moral
the
claim?
that
thing.
people
It's an
do not
effective
like
topic
being
to
subject
do it
So
with.
you're making a
abuse,
universal moral
and
claim?
people will be
Because it's
against that.
like,
So
What
are
I'm
you
saying
when
making
it's
a
like one of
universal
those
moral claim?
consent
The claim that
things
I'm
where it's like,
making
oh,
is that
children can't
universally,
consent,
people do
so
not like
yada
to be
yada, blah
abused
blah.
or harmed.
Okay, but in this case, the kids don't see it as abuse or as harm. They demand it because it's a rite of passage. Tell me why they're wrong.
I mean, do you know that for a fact about those children?
Yes, you look it up
Have
right
they
now.
interviewed?
Yes. The cum warriors of Papua New Guinea. No kidding. Look it up. Can you tell me why they would be wrong? Please, with sugar on top?
Yes, because it is
While
harming.
she's looking
a
it up,
group
can
of
I ask-
people.
Because they're okay, but
Because
it's
they are
relative.
harming a group of people.
So is it
There are
objectively
morals
wrong to
that are
harm groups of
relative.
people?
Yes, it is harm to do bad. Yes, it is.
Is it
bad. It is bad to do harm.
objectively? Is it objectively bad to do harm to people? Objectively.
Is
I
it
would say that that
objectively
is
wrong
also
to harm groups
subjective.
of people?
However, many of us can disagree or agree upon
It's
it.
subjective and conditional.
Just stop fucking laughing like that. You
It's
fucking-
well, it's a universal.
Listen to me.
It's universally wrong subjectively, dummy. You're like, what the fuck are you talking? It's universally subjectively wrong.
Subjectively.
Andrew, why don't you explain why?
Conditional.
That's
Is that what you're saying?
Andrew,
Okay, yeah, I'll
Why
explain. I'll
why
explain.
they do it?
If you make a universal- yeah, if you
I don't
make
want
a-
to start talking about Jesus
If
shit,
you make
man.
a universal, if
No,
you
no, no. I want to know why
Did I mention
the cum
Jesus?
warriors do the. Why do
I'm
they do what they
explaining
do?
to you. I'm explaining to you the distinction here between universal claims, universal moral claims, objective claims. She's saying objectively this is always wrong. Subjectively, A. That's A plus not A, which is a contradiction. A and not A is a contradiction. Do you understand? Like, you can't say this is an objectively subjective claim. That's like saying, I don't know, that's a dog cat. It's A and not A. It's a contradiction. It's the third law of logic for a reason, the law of non-contradiction. We cannot contradict what we say, or it can't be true, right? That would be the basis of a truth claim.
If I ask a question, I usually ask for a reason. Why do the
You can say it's an objectively subjective claim.
Part
Like,
of cultural integration.
that statement actually works.
Down through the lines for
But
whatever
why-
reason.
You can't say that
why do they?
Why would that
what you
matter?
can say
Is it universally wrong or
is that
not?
the claim.
I think that context is
Hold on.
always important.
Okay.
Knowing the historical context behind things
No,
is
I can't. It's hard to fight. And
healthy
do this
when
at
it
the
comes
same
I'm
to
going to
time.
ask you a question,
deciding.
Chuck. How can this be universal
Okay.
objective?
What you can't say is that this claim is both objective and subjective. You can say that this claim is objectively subjective. Like, I think that's what he just said, unless I missed it. Like, objectively subjective claim. Like, yeah, if something is objectively subjective, meaning that it's obviously subjective, then that's a coherent statement. What you can't say is that this statement is both objective and subjective. I think that's what he's trying to say. I might be nitpicking a little bit here, but I think that what he said was technically wrong.
Objective opinion of yours when they don't agree with you?
Yeah.
Can you
How can
answer
it be
that?
universal?
Okay, how can this be a universal construct, if you want to say this, and objective when they disagree with you? Would you not be
What the
oppressive to
fuck?
this culture
Correct.
by their standards?
And if you were oppressive, wouldn't that be a good thing?
That's actually
So again, while I believe morality is
this has nothing to do with the stream right now, but like, that's the first time I've ever been killed this way in this game. Like, I don't even know what the fuck just happened, but we'll just continue.
objective, so that we can continue as a species,
They will
and live
continue.
together in harmony.
Yeah, why wouldn't they continue as a species?
I didn't even know
I mean,
it
they
was
probably
fucking
continue,
possible
but certainly
for
not
that.
So
in
then- so
harmony.
then that
I'm reading
wouldn't-
more on this,
Right,
and
you
actually,
earlier said, what if I wanted to just wipe them all out?
and
Completely
it
fucking
actually comes
impaled
from
out of nowhere.
like a hatred of women.
Yeah, whatever it is, who cares?
It's a hatred.
It's
of
their
women
practice.
just because they hate women.
Tell me why it's wrong, though.
Because this
Objectively
implies
wrong.
that in that culture,
Mhm.
if they are doing this practice because they think women are disgusting and evil, and boys
Yeah.
should be separated from them and relieved of the taint of the woman,
Yeah.
there are probably, most likely, feminists, some sort of. I mean, maybe not at this point, but
So is
certainly,
feminism objectively correct?
I would say that subjugating anyone
What's my question? Can you repeat my question?
to
Can
me,
you- can-
to
yeah,
me, it's
to
wrong.
you.
To me, it's wrong.
So it's
and
not-
many people agree.
So feminism
Many
is
people
not.
agree.
So feminism is not objectively correct.
Do you believe in gravity?
Sure.
Do you think it's objectively correct?
Yes, I think it's
Can't
objective.
really prove it though. That just
Oh
proves
my
that it fell.
fucking
It doesn't
God.
actually prove anything.
Well, it proves that there's a force that made it fall.
That doesn't. I don't know what that means. What's the
Maybe you have a
force?
string tied to it. and you just pull it
Literally
out.
right in front of you, Chuck.
That's true.
Wow.
It's a good thing. It's a good
Wow.
thing that I can demonstrate using empirical
This is
data that a
crazy.
force exists, which is material that we can measure.
What is
Can
the
I
force?
get back
though?
to
The force is what we call
How does that prove
gravity.
anything?
The
we're on
we call
semantics.
that force gravity. Now you
People
can,
saw things drop a million gazillion times before we discovered what fucking gravity
and they
was.
called that force not lots of different things, but they all didn't jump off cliffs because they knew they would die, huh?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, so they knew there was a
About
material
gravity and
force that pulled you down.
the implications of fucking, like the concept of gravity and what that means.
until we developed wings.
Okay,
and
so wait a
engines,
second. I'm sorry.
And
now we
engines
can
and
fly.
I'm
rockets.
sorry. So people thought it was okay to jump off of really high cliffs before we knew
No,
what gravity
that's not
was?
what I said. But they
Oh, so they could
understand
observe that there was a
exactly what's
material.
happening.
So they could observe that there was a material thing which happened.
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy. And what's
And
the
I'm saying
first
that there
step
are
of?
material
What's the
fucking
very first step of the
consequences. There are
scientific method?
material consequences
What's the
to
very
separation of
first
other
step?
human beings.
Lady, what's the very first step of the scientific method? In
Yeah.
order to have an experiment, what's the very first step?
Hypothesis?
No, you fucking dunce. Observation. Observation. You
I
must
studied
observe.
literature.
I don't
My
know
bad, I
how
didn't
the
study
fuck
science.
she
You
didn't know
must
that.
observe, right? You have to have an observation. How would you come up with a hypothesis?
You gotta have an
Hypothesis
observation
about
before
what?
anything else.
Are we at any point going to get back to the
Yeah, but
topic?
this
Yeah.
is all relative to this. You're making the claim. So here's why. I'll explain it.
Relevant.
I'll break it down. I'll break
That
down
is
how all this
definitely
works.
off
Very
topic.
quickly. You say this is a theft and it's immoral. You have no standard for morality and no standard for theft. And your standard for theft is contradictory. I just demonstrated how it's contradictory. Her demonstration of morality is that it's both objective and subjective. Both of you are in direct contradiction. That's why Samantha. Now, hang on. Almost done. Almost done. I'm almost done.
God.
I'm almost done. Almost done. You asked, why are semantics so fucking important? Now you know. Because instantly I can get to the core of your worldview and see that you're fucking,
fucking tired of
completely in contradiction to your own standards, which you demand that you apply to us when we're making
fucking
arguments to the
Christ.
contrary using objective standards. Now, if you want to make the query and probe on that, that's great.
what?
I
This
can't wait for
thing's
that.
gonna keep
But man,
spawning? Like,
can you at least be
fuck.
fucking consistent in your
Alright,
worldview?
You didn't ask. Well, here's
Sure,
what you
yes,
asked.
so
You asked her.
what I mean by morality being subjective is that everyone has a different moral code. My moral code has
And it's
determined
relative?
that the subjective of other human beings, the subjection
Which
of
is
other human
relative.
beings
Yes,
is
it's relative.
bad. It doesn't fucking matter.
It-
What I'm
okay.
saying is that while morality is
Then
subjective,
I agree. It doesn't matter.
if many people
I agree.
listen, if many people agree on
so
a specific morality,
Ah.
and we decide to enforce it, then it is enforced.
I see. So if it were the case that you had a country, let's say, where 80% of the women died from a plague,
bro.
and men outnumbered them 4-1, and then they universally agreed that raping these women would be morally acceptable and pass that into legislation, that would be okay, right?
That is not at all what I said. Did you not? Just
Yeah,
say that
actually
I
it
said
is. What
that
you just
bad?
said is that universal.
harm to
You
others
just said
is
that
bad?
universal subjective claims are bad based on consensus of the majority. I gave you an instance where the majority comes to a consensus against the minority. You would have to say that that's okay, right?
I think that the entire world would be horrified by it. I think the majority of
Let's say there
people-
was no other world than this world where
Okay,
60.
so in your fantasy land where all the women die and then they get raped.
Let's just say.
I think that the women would
Yeah.
most likely dislike it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. But we have a consensus, though.
That's a. And
That's
We have a
utterly
consensus,
ridiculous
right?
hypothetical. Can we get back to the real world for a
We
moment?
have a consensus.
Can we get back to the real
No,
world?
can we get back to the consensus?
I wanna
You said
Yeah,
consensus was okay,
you
right?
The
asked
whole
a
like that's
disingenuous
like
question, Andrew, and I
such
want
a
to ask you a
subjective
question.
morality claim.
Let me answer it.
Explain why it's disingenuous.
They
Never
come to
answer
a
it.
subjective.
You didn't ask.
They
Here's
come
what
to
the
a
question was. The
consensus
scenario you
on what
posed
they
was,
believe
here's
is
this group
right
of
and
people,
wrong.
they engage in a behavior that
Yeah.
some in the West would find reprehensible. Would I be
Right.
morally justified in killing those people
Yeah.
in order to save those children?
Yeah.
Then you launch from there into an interrogation about whether
the consistency
or
of
not
that
she
view,
believed
yeah.
it was morally right
Yeah.
that whether she believed that their habits were morally correct.
Yeah.
That's what you asked, right?
And the
But
problem with this is what?
the original question was, would it be morally right to kill them
Yeah,
in
would
order
it?
to save those
Yeah, why
children?
would it be immoral to do
That's
that?
completely different.
Okay, well, I'll just ask you directly. Why would it be immoral for me to put all those men to the sword and rescue those children? Why?
Because we have better ways of going about it. That
What
might
are
take a
they?
little more time.
What are they?
It might be educating them about why that's bad. It might be going.
So how
in
many
and
of those
better
children should I
understanding them. It
allow
might
to
be leaving
get-
them the fuck alone?
That's fair. How many of those children should I allow to be molested while you come to a consensus?
How many of those children are upset at what you consider to be immoral?
Zero.
He's making a good
Hang on,
point
zero.
there.
So
Zero.
to them, it's not harm.
You gotta wait to come to a
their
consensus to
worldview,
decide
it's
that
not
that shit
harm.
is wrong. Is that what we need?
So
Andrew, do you
in
have
that case,
Let him cook. He's cooking. Let him cook. Lady, can you let him finish? Do you have children?
No.
Okay, but I do.
By my
So I do. So therefore, I'm the
morality-
expert. Yeah.
No. But what I'm saying is, dude.
I'm glad that the
based on this
childless are always telling the
conversation,
child of
I don't
the
think
ones
that
who
you
are
are
child.
like you are
Yeah,
like
let him answer.
Go
frankly
ahead,
someone that
Chris.
I don't
Chuck,
think
you're
a
diverting
child
right now.
raised
Hey,
by
Yeah, who cares? Have a kid and then we'll talk.
would be-
But back to
would be-
Chris.
Christopher,
Back to
did you
Chris.
want
would
to
be good for the
continue?
brain.
Chris, you were cooking, bro. You're right. Is it the case that it's the kids perceive it as harmful? Well, no, Chris, they don't. So am I morally unjustified in doing
so my
that?
question then to you
Mhm.
is it morally justifiable to commit another act of immorality to save those kids? So what you're doing is
I see.
you're trying to put this is worse than this. You're trying to get us to answer that question of whether I
Yeah.
think it's less immoral to
Yeah.
kill 2,000 people in a remote corner of Papua New Guinea because
Yeah.
of something
Are you saying
immoral.
you're
that
Yeah, I
they
would do
have.
it, Chris.
committing an
Yeah,
immoral
Chris,
act
I'll answer you directly.
in
Yeah, Chris,
order
put them all on the
to-
sword and get all those boys out of there. The fact that you wouldn't and would allow them to stay there and get molested tells me all I need to
stop
know about your fucking
something else.
worldview,
I'm
Chris.
asking you,
Tells me
like,
all I need to know about your
morality.
worldview, Chris.
Is that
I'm
what
asking
you're
you by what moral code do you decide that one of those actions is
Why,
better than the
Chris?
other?
I'm glad you asked. I use universalized Christian ethics for my moral code.
Oh, great. Let's dive into that.
Oh, let's, Chris. Tell me why it is, if you could presuppose why it would be, that I should not have an objective standard for Christian ethics or how Christian ethics is bad. I can't wait to hear it. Why is Christian
Yeah,
ethics
let's talk
bad?
about whether
Chris?
Christian ethics protects, say, the subjugation of women using
let's.
force.
Yeah, let's.
Let's get back to that.
Yeah, let's. So can I ask you a
Define how your
question?
Christian ethics makes your force doctrine okay.
How does Christian ethics make force? Wait a second. I'm sorry. Force
That's
doctrine is a
fucking
Go over the title.
descriptor.
You have
Force
that.
doctrine is a
They do not. So
descriptor.
You're saying I have the ability to kill these people because I don't think what they're doing is
Yeah,
right.
and so what I would do is I would appeal to this universal of Christian ethics to say why it would be that even if you
What are
had,
these universal
so
Christian
if you would
ethics?
stop for 10 seconds, lady, I'll explain them. If it is the case, though, Chris, that you say to me, Andrew, this descriptor, there could be immoral things
What
people
the
do
hell?
with this
Oh, shit.
descriptor. I agree, Chris. The great thing about Christian ethics is that I can both see the descriptive truth of reality, which is force doctrine, and I can use Christian ethics at the same time to
let me
oppose the
get that
times
out
where it's
real
used
quick.
immorally,
There we go.
objectively and
Yeah, oh,
universally.
shit.
And Chris, you can't fucking
Another
do that
one?
because you just got done advocating to me why it's actually more moral for me to allow children to continue to get molested in Papua New Guinea rather than put them all to the sword, Chris. And that's how I know that I'm fucking superior to all of you fuckers in every conceivable way, Chris. Now you get it.
It's
Hey,
the same
is that
premise
your
because
assertion that that
you're-
was my claim?
This is, Andrew, we do
It
not.
was your claim.
Listen to me. I am not someone that is aggressively atheist. Okay, I was raised.
I don't know what
Christian,
that
and I don't
means.
really care anymore. But
Yeah, I
what
don't
I'm
even know
going
what
to
that
say is
means.
that there is no proof that your God exists, and there
How do you
are
know?
many people around.
What's your
the
standard
world-
of proof?
This,
Well, there's
like,
no proof that he
camera
doesn't
is
exist.
keeping
What's your
going
standard for
on.
what is
there
proof?
are many people around the world
There we
that
go.
are not Christians. So
Yeah.
your morality is not universal. You feel it is universal. I feel that my morality is also best.
So
But
what?
I also understand that my morality is not universal. Not everyone
Okay,
believes
I think that
what
that's a
I think
fair.
should be, and
I'll
I
engage
cannot-
directly
I
with this
cannot
argument.
enforce
Okay, I'll engage
my
directly with this.
morality across the world.
I'll engage
Hold on,
directly
I
with this.
wanted to finish
Let me.
answering
Can
the
I at
question
least
that I was
answer?
asking.
Can I at least
We keep
answer to
getting
her
pulled off on these
criticism?
tangents,
I'll
and
get
I'm
right
trying
back
to
to it,
nail it
Chris.
down.
Hold on real quick.
If you'd ever
Pardon
let
me,
me
sir,
answer,
just a moment.
if you'd ever let me answer,
here's
I'll
what
answer.
we will do. We'll let Andrew answer the question, and then we'll redirect back to you, Christopher. Okay?
Yeah. So the law of
What
excluded
a
middle.
fucking pain in the
A
ass.
proposition's either true or it's not true. That is a law of logic. There's only three. You can look them up. It's the law of excluded middle proposition, either true or false. It can't be in between. It can't be somewhat true. It is true or it's false, or else the proposition is not sound. Right? I'm sorry, the conclusion would not be sound, and the entire argument, its structure would basically fail. Right? The idea here is you have to use the law of excluded middle. It could be the case that I could be one of 2 Christians left on planet Earth, me and Mr. Marte over here, right? Who's a way better Christian than me, by the way. I'm chief of sinners. I'm the fucking worst of the worst. But
He is correct
the
about
case
that.
of the matter is that even
Those
if
are
that were
the-
true,
those are
that
the
doesn't
laws of
mean
logic.
that even if there's only 2 of us, that we're wrong. Or that we're saying something which is untrue, or that when we apply universal ethics, that's untrue because there's only 2 of us. You, on the other hand, have the claim that because consensus says, based on consensus, this is what's moral. I can easily make the same grape analogy to you if it was the case that men outnumbered women. A horrible disease went through and killed them down to 20%, and men locked them up and caged them. That would be up to consensus, and you would have to concede that would be immoral, right? Right?
You're using your
Let her answer. Let her fucking answer, dude.
Or
Answer the
it's not
question.
really like a
Answer the question. Answer the question like I
Can you
just
stop
answered yours.
No, but
Dude,
my-
How can I interrupt my own question?
Telling them to answer the
I
question.
just want him to answer. She doesn't answer.
I
Just
would think
answer.
that it would be wrong by my moral code. I would think that it would be wrong.
But you can objectively state that it would be wrong for men to put women in grape cages as long as there was consensus, right?
I didn't say that. No, that would still be wrong.
Okay,
on,
what-
yes,
what-
my moral code. And
Your
I think
moral
most of the
code.
world would agree that it is wrong to.
Most of the world doesn't
cages
agree
in a
inside the
restaurant.
hypothetical. The most of the world disagrees and think they belong in the cages. Why are they wrong?
Because it's bringing harm to others, and I don't. agree
Yeah,
with
but
that.
they don't believe that, and they're the consensus. Why are they wrong and you're right?
Because I don't agree with it.
Oh, okay. So all of the entire standard of the world comes out of Chuck's mind. Fantastic. What Chuck disagrees
Lord
with
have
is what
mercy.
is immoral, and what Chuck agrees with is what's moral. But at the same
Okay,
time,
all
Chuck
right,
says,
relax,
hang on. But at the same time, Chuck says, Andrew, you can't. If it was just you and one other Christian, because you don't have the moral consensus of the majority, you would be wrong. Do you see how you just contradicted yourself again, Chuck?
You would be right to you.
Well, then I'm right by your standards, right? Because what's right to me is what's right.
No, what's right to you is what's right to you.
Okay, so what's right to you is what's right to you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So then if it was the case that what was right to me was to have grape cages and I had the consensus, you couldn't actually say that I was wrong because I have the same standard you do, right?
No, I could still disagree with you.
Oh, sure, you can
I could
disagree.
still say
But
that
how
it's
could you say I was
against
wrong?
My
How-
my moral framework.
So then
Yes,
all
I could say
morality,
it's
so
wrong.
then you're the ultimate arbiter of morality, right?
I'm
This
not.
is
Then how could
this
you
is so
disagree with
silly.
whatever I
You've
say is
gotten
wrong?
into like such a silly
you're confused.
realm with this
So then-
debate.
so
But
then
you have a
if-
different moral code. You have a
So my
different
moral code's
code.
not worse than yours, right?
I mean, I would feel that it's worse than mine. I would think you're a real shit
Okay, but
person.
I would feel that it's not, so what makes me wrong? Except that you are the universal arbiter of everything that is moral.
I guess it would depend upon me thinking you're wrong.
Oh, so then you're the universal arbiter of all that is moral?
I mean, you're asking me if I think it's wrong. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so then I also, by the way, am the universal arbiter of what is moral. All of the
Uh-huh.
things which I consider to be immoral are because I say so.
Okay.
Just like you.
Hopefully enough people agree or disagree with you. and then
Oh,
we
so
can
we're back to
have that.
consensus. So as long as I have the
doesn't
consensus
make it
of the
right
majority
to
of
get a
men that we can put women in grape
consensus.
cages, then it's fine.
It just means that you have the ability to do it. Doesn't mean that it's right.
What
or
makes it
wrong?
wrong other than you don't agree with it?
Well, that's what makes something wrong.
Oh, God.
It's
So
if
you're
I
the
disagree
ultimate
with it.
arbiter of all that is moral.
Dude, we are going in circles.
Yes, because your
I
argument
don't
is
think
your
that you are
argument is circular.
understanding
Your
at all.
argument is circular. I
Appealing
asked.
to God is the same thing
Uh-huh.
as appealing to your fucking self.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'll even grant
Please,
it.
it is-
I'll even grant it. Hey, I'll even grant it. So if it is the case,
I
you are the
mean,
universal arbiter of morality.
yeah,
No,
it's
not
not
consensus.
necessarily
What if
his
consensus
fault
is
that
wrong?
you're
Then it
going
comes
in
back
a
to me, the
circle
universal
there.
arbiter of morality. What about consensus? What if consensus is wrong? Then it comes back to me, the universal. The reason the argument is circular is because it's your fucking argument, lady, and it's a circular argument because you're the one making it. Me, I'm just agreeing with it. You're right. So I'm going to use I'm going to use the same exact circular logic. I, Andrew Wilson, am the ultimate arbiter of morality. If you disagree with me, you're immoral. Now, what about consensus? Hey, consensus, I agree with it unless it disagrees with me because I'm the ultimate arbiter of what's moral. Now, you can prove me wrong right now by just telling me why it would be that if the consensus of people said to lock all of the women up in grape cages and they were raped by men all fucking day long, why would they be wrong absent you saying that you're the ultimate arbiter of morality? Tell me. Yeah.
It's a
I'm going to go get a drink while you think about that.
Yeah, can we get back to my question for you?
Yeah,
I
so
don't want to
Chuck,
be
you
stuck
have
saying
no
the
particular
same thing.
standard
Dude,
in which to
Marte,
appeal
shut
to,
the
really.
Go,
fuck up.
go ahead
Marte,
back.
you are like,
You're just shifting the goalposts from one place to the other. That's it. That's all you can do. That's
Christopher,
it.
did
There's
you
no
have a
consistent
question
standard.
you had built in there? Did you want to ask it?
Well, I want to get back to this conversation about this tribe in Papua New Guinea because he's alleging that I'm saying that I think molesting kids is fine.
Well, what's the choice besides what we would do?
No, what I want to
Put
ask,
everybody to the sword.
and I'll ask you,
What else?
Marte,
What
do
would
you
be
have
the
intrinsic
option?
I don't
value?
think,
Let him-
did
let him ask
anybody
the
make that
question, okay.
argument? I don't
Do you
think
have an
anybody
idea?
suggested that.
are you valuable as a human being? Do you matter?
Well, it depends on who you ask. My value would be different from somebody else's value. And you're asking me? Yeah, there's value.
And
Everybody
where
has
does your
value.
value come from? In your estimation, where does your value come from?
It depends. Like if you ask where my value comes from, I could just plead to like, my life, my abilities, everything else that's socially constructed. I can just say that's my value.
But you are religious, correct?
Yes.
So you believe that your value is part of your creation, endowed by your creator?
Yes, we do have a value that's endowed by our creator. But when we're talking about other cultures and we're interacting with them, then this goes to
This is the
Charlie's
most that
to Chuck's
other
point
guy is
of
fucking
they don't
talked
observe this
the
behavior as
entire
value.
debate.
Their value could be something
guy
different,
on Andrew's
culturally
side.
intrinsic upon their land, their native species, their tribe, everything else. And that's why this is circular, because she doesn't really have a standard going back to her.
It's
and I
the
think that
same
when
thing.
this,
Again,
this
appealing
moves
to
This is
yourself
the
is
most
the
that
same
this
as appealing
nigga
to
said the
God.
entire debate.
because this is circular from her end. Otherwise, we have a consistent standard that's
It's
unchanging,
circular from your
unmoving,
end as
and
well.
yours is
You have
circular.
mine is
Well,
also
we're just going to agree
unchanging
with you
and
the whole time,
unmoving.
and it's going to be
Hang
circular.
on, hang on, hang on. We can resolve this very quickly. Andrew is the ultimate arbiter of morality. If we appeal to consensus and it doesn't agree with Andrew, then it's wrong because
God is the ultimate arbiter of
no.
morality. And if
Answer my
consensus
question.
goes against God, it's
Answer-
immoral. It's the
answer-
same shit.
No, it's
man.
not. I can actually
If
disprove
God
that.
is the ultimate
But
arbiter
before
of
we do,
morality,
hang on,
and
hang on.
consensus does something
What's my
that God
question?
doesn't agree with, then
Can you
it's
answer my
immoral.
question?
Are you
Answer-
not fucking right? Do you not think that
Answer
God is the
my
arbiter of morality? Do
question.
you not have a universal Christian
You're
ethics?
you're
You
answering
do.
a question with a question. Andrew is the ultimate arbiter of morality. If the consensus disagrees with Andrew, right, then the consensus is wrong because Andrew is the ultimate arbiter of morality. Can you show why Andrew is not the ultimate arbiter of morality without disproving your claim that you're the ultimate arbiter of morality? I'm going to wait while you do that.
I did not make the claim that I'm the ultimate
Oh,
arbiter.
then
of
who
morality.
is?
It's that things I observe things and I believe that they are.
Then
wrong.
who is the ultimate arbiter of morality?
No one.
Oh, great.
Well,
So
by
then,
your
We don't have to
definition-
agree on
so
things.
then I
We
am-
have to agree upon things.
oh, so
That
if
is in
we
fact what we are doing right
Great.
now.
So if
is
we
are
agree-
determining if something is moral or not.
so if we agree that grape cages should happen for women, then that's moral, right?
No, I would still be against it. You
Oh,
guys-
okay. So and would everybody else be wrong and doing something immoral?
I mean, do you think that there should be?
Can you answer my question before you
Do you
ask
think
one?
there should be
Would
racially
everybody
discriminating?
be, lady? I will answer every question you have. You just answer mine. Is it the case that if everybody agreed that women should go in grape cages and you disagree, that everybody else would be wrong?
Yeah, I would still think that they're wrong.
So then, who's the ultimate arbiter of morality?
There's no ultimate arbiter of morality.
But how? Then how could they
But
be
the things
wrong?
that
Then
happen
how could they be
based on
wrong?
what
Then
we
how
believe
could
is
they be
Maybe I
wrong?
can offer a translation.
How
here
could they be
for
wrong if
Charlie.
you're not the ultimate arbiter
he's
of
pretty
morality?
much trapped her here.
Charlie, if so, what he's basically
It
saying
is getting
is
kind of annoying,
you're
but like
utilizing
he's
the
not
idea that
wrong.
collectively, if we all
It's
agree on
really just
something, then
because
it
that
is
she
good,
doesn't
right? But what
understand
if
that
collectively everybody agrees on this
she's still
thing that
using
you view as
herself
bad, but
as
based
the
on your
standard for
definition
what
or
is
your
moral and what
premise,
isn't.
right? You're saying collectively, if we all agree, then it is good. So what he's saying is that's why he
Like she's basically saying that regardless of whether society like agreed on some kind of like standard for what is moral, she would still think it's immoral if she doesn't like it or if she has other values or whatever. Which is like there's not anything wrong with that. The problem is that she's making her argument from the idea that, you know, society kind of decides on these things. She's not making her argument from an objective viewpoint at all. Like she's not espousing any objective morality from what I can see. So she's appealing to herself at the end of the day. Because like, well, if society is deemed that this is moral, unless you have some kind of objective standard that you're using your own subjective standard. I think that's what he's trying to say. He's pointing that out though, and that's why it's becoming circular.
is appealing
She knows
to
exactly what I'm saying, Sarah. She
No,
doesn't
I'm
know a
saying
way
that
out
I
of it
think things
logically.
are good or bad. Do you think slavery is good or bad? Do you agree with slavery?
That's a great. Hang on, that's a great question. Now listen,
I'd really like to get
I'm
back
going to
to my
make. Hang on,
question
and I'll
honest
answer yours
answer.
too. I'm going to make a promise to both of you right now, and this is my adamant Wilson promise to both of you. I will literally put myself on the grill of every single question you have, and I'll answer them in good
Dude, you
faith.
keep saying that you will, but then you don't
But
answer
you,
questions.
because you don't answer mine, and that's what I'm trying to make the bargain. I'm making a great bargain right now. If you just answer a couple, I will literally say these words: I am open for the internal critique, and I'll answer every question you have. But you've got to answer mine. So let's start with this. If it is the case that the majority say women should go in grape cages and you disagree, please answer. Why are they wrong?
Because I think that that's wrong. I think
So
that
how
it's-
are
it
you
is.
not the ultimate arbiter
Because
of
my moral
morality?
framework is based upon being good to others. They
And
might
so
think
you're
that
the
what they're
ultimate
doing is
arbiter of
okay.
morality, right? How are you not the ultimate arbiter
In
of
my
morality?
fucking world, yes. In my world, in my brain,
In
yes.
your
Correct.
Sorry, she's
Exactly.
admitting it
Perfect.
finally.
Yes, I will
Okay,
make
yes.
moral judgments in my world.
Then lady,
I have my
Finally,
own moral
she's
judgments.
she's
lady,
actually
then all answers
admitting
to
it
your
now.
questions, all answers to your questions.
You got her to
henceforth will be
finally admit that.
because in my world, I make up the morals, and they're always right because I made them up.
Well, can we come to a moral consensus here that we think hurting people?
No,
hurts?
yes, we can come to the moral consensus that Andrew Wilson's morals are always correct.
No, what
But
I'm
you would
saying
have
is,
to convince
that
the
to have
majority
this argument,
of
to
Why?
have
I'm
this
sorry. I'm sorry.
argument,
How would I
can
need
we
to convince the
agree?
majority if the majority would be immoral by disagreeing with me?
Can we
You're
move it
saying
from the
that-
hypothetical to
Yeah,
the situation
your
that we're having
hypothetical
here?
is, would it be okay if the majority of people agreed it was okay
Mhm.
with Andrew Wilson's idea that we should take the few remaining women and put them in grape cages
Sure.
so that we can preserve humanity, right? We're
No,
making the
forget
argument
preserving
that-
humanity just because it's fun.
Okay. Then you need to convince people
Why do I need to
why
convince
that's
people?
not immoral.
If people
because,
disagree,
because in your hypothetical, you
The
just simply
fuck?
skipped over the most
Bro,
important step.
bro,
which is
okay,
gaining-
We all
let's-
decide together. It's the
Here.
argument. It is the way that we
Yeah.
that we live.
hang on, let's see if this let's see if this holds. Hang on, I
We
agree.
debate. We come to
And
terms.
here,
we
we'll
compromise. We
we'll-
have
We can even
agreements.
agree with
I
that.
fought
So
this
I'll
thing
ask you the same
before.
question, sir. If if the majority of people came to a consensus, let's say 99.9% of people came to consensus that women should be in grape cages, would you say that they were acting immorally?
Would I say it?
Yeah.
I would want to know what the other 99.9% see that led them to believe that it was okay.
Well, whatever it was, would you see it as immoral?
I would hope that I would.
Great.
But
So
you
then,
completely,
so
all you're
then-
doing is gish galloping and skipping
there's
over
no gish
the most
gallop.
important
I'm just showing you the
step
same logic. I'm showing you the same logic.
Okay,
If it is the case, hang on,
homosexuals
bro. Okay, go ahead.
Homosexuals were able to move the approval of homosexual marriage from 27% in the mid-90s to over 70%.
Yeah, but I
last year.
disagree with that,
How
so
did they-
therefore it's immoral.
But
Yeah,
the
to you, that's
majority of
great.
people do
That's
not.
all that matters. Is
So
that it's
your
immoral to me?
your
Am I the
argument-
ultimate arbiter of morality?
Okay, but when Charlie just made that argument, you
Uh-huh.
tried to shoot her down with a gotcha.
What? What argument?
You tried to say, aha, you're the one who's the final arbiter of
Oh,
moral.
no. Actually, I'm
But your
agreeing with Charlie.
hypothetical
Listen.
requires that you convince
No, I'm
99.9% of people.
No, the opposite. I'm totally agreeing with Charlie. If she's the ultimate arbiter of morality, so am I.
You just changed your position, dude.
No, not at all.
You are allowed. You are
You
allowed.
know the
No,
goalpost, you
he's-
pick
are
up
allowed-
half
This
the
is
ball
how that
from the
works.
I'm sorry.
And
How
he's
did I
She's
move
going
the
to use
goalpost? Can you
herself
explain
for
that?
the standard of what
Because your
morality is. If
hypothetical
he can
was,
use
if
himself.
the majority of people decided that this was okay,
Yeah.
would you disagree with them and think
Yes.
it was immoral?
Yes. And
And
would
I
those people
said-
be wrong?
How would you do that?
What do you mean? Why
How would
would
you
that
convince
matter?
them that
Why,
what you think
why
is
would
wrong?
that matter? That's irrelevant.
So you're saying, okay, then let's accept your premise.
Okay,
and
let's.
move on to the next logical step in that.
Okay, great. We'll move on to the next
If the
logical step.
majority
Anything
of-
you say that I disagree with is immoral. That's the next logical step.
No, the next logical step.
That is the okay. All next logical steps are if
let
you
me
disagree
finish
with me,
the
it's
goddamn
immoral.
sentence.
Okay, finish.
The next logical step in that is for you to ask, why do I think this is moral when everyone else says it's not?
Because I'm the ultimate arbiter of what's moral.
No, you have to make a claim.
I just made the
explained to you
claim.
why I think something is immoral. I think it's immoral because it does great harm to other human beings.
And
Same-
that comes.
Well,
Same-
explain your thoughts.
I think things are immoral if they disagree with anything within my moral framework
Okay,
that I
then what's
disagree
your
with.
moral code? I gave you a reason. You can't give
Anything
me a
that
fucking reason?
anything that I think that you disagree with is immoral.
Okay.
anything.
I don't understand why
I don't
you're
remember
refusing
how
to
to
engage
kill
with the
this
question.
thing.
I could not engage with this in more good
what
faith.
he's-
So here, I'll walk you through it. Everything Andrew Wilson says that you don't agree with makes you immoral. You say we got to appeal to the consensus. I say, okay, but if we appeal to the consensus and they disagree with your morality, are they wrong? You say yes. That moves you back down to this position here where you're the ultimate arbiter of morality. Well, if you can be the ultimate arbiter of morality, then I can also be the ultimate arbiter of morality. And
I'm
I
told
say,
why I think something is moral or immoral.
yeah, that's great. I also think that everything that's immoral is everything that disagrees with everything I think is immoral.
You're being petulant and a child.
I'm not only
Well,
not being impetuous, I'm not
No, you're not
only, I'm
finishing.
engaging in total good faith with
Or-
everything you're
No,
saying.
This is
You-
this
Okay,
is,
tell me
there's
what I'm saying
nothing
that's
to say
wrong.
About
I
this.
could reset
Sarah,
it.
Sarah, give her the floor and have her explain how I'm wrong.
trying to have everybody stop for a second. What he's doing, Charlie, is using the very words that you were saying against you, and he's now using them to basically win the argument based on how you're trying to make.
Well, he's
the
not even
case.
saying the words that I said.
Okay, tell me the words you
Because I
said.
explained to you why I think something would be immoral because it
But
brings
why does
harm
that make
to
it
other human
right?
beings.
Why does that make it immoral, though, other than you think
Because
it?
my moral code, the framework of my moral code is don't do harm to others. That's it.
Great.
There
My
you go.
moral code-
And
my
so I
moral
think
code-
that things
and
that
my moral
violate that
code-
are wrong.
Great. And my moral code is don't do anything that I disagree with you on or it's immoral.
That's not a basis.
Wh-
Why
I'm
do you
sorry.
disagree with something?
Why is
Why
that
do you
not a bit?
disagree with- Why do you disagree with something?
Why? I'm sorry. Do you have a reason why you disagree with harm?
Yes, because I want our species to survive and I want people to live in harmony.
great.
I
Oh,
think
me
more
too.
evil brings more evil into the world.
Me too. I believe that our species will thrive best with women in grape cages. Tell me how I'm wrong.
Okay, well, thank you for giving me a response. Why do you think we would thrive best in rape cages?
Well, I mean, fuck autonomy. That's stupid. I just want there to be lots and lots of human beings, and
Why
that will
do you
make
think
lots of
you
human beings.
deserve- Why do you think you deserve autonomy and those women in rape cages don't?
I'm sorry. I'm the ultimate arbiter
so-
of what's moral.
This
but
is so
explain why
bad.
you-
I just told you. I explained the same reason that you're the ultimate arbiter of what's
He's
moral.
being
The thoughts that you have in your
facetious,
brain
but it's
of
still
what are
funny.
bad. You think everybody who doesn't follow those thoughts is being immoral. I'm the same exact way.
I can explain the reasons why I don't like things or disagree with
Yes,
things.
but
You
those
cannot
reasons come
explain
from
why,
your
because you are trying
brain.
to argue for rape cages right now, dude.
Wait, I'm sorry. Let me get this right. The things which you believe are immoral, where do they come from? Your mind?
Well, I suppose based on the context under which I was
Your
raised,
mind?
you know,
Your mind?
which was, you know,
They come from your mind?
shaped by my environment.
So your morals come from your mind?
Sure, yes.
Mine
it's a
too.
social
And
construct.
so if
Okay,
you're
cool.
the ultimate arbiter of what's moral based on what comes from your mind, so am I.
Do you not reason through your morality? You don't
Well,
ever think about your moral code? You don't
Tell me,
reason
can
through
you
it?
tell me why it's immoral to not use
Andrew
reason?
Wilson, I'm asking you about
Mhm.
your universal Christian ethics.
Okay, let's
You
get into
explain to me
universal
using your
Christian ethics.
universal Christian ethics.
Mhm.
Why rape cages would be bad.
You've changed my mind. Now I understand that I, under a subjectivist worldview, can simply be the ultimate arbiter of morality based on things that are inside of my mind. And that if I appeal to the majority and they're wrong, they're still fucking wrong because I am the ultimate arbiter of all that is moral.
Good.
I'm
Like, I
trying to
mean,
get to
nonsense.
yeah,
Can we move on
The
to
Jesus.
argument
That's-
he's
wait, that's
making
nonsense.
It is nonsense.
is
Oh,
not
you wanna know why? I'll tell you why.
incorrect.
I'm
If
willing-
you are a class of one.
I'm sorry, so we're appealing to consensus again?
We were appealing to consent. Why do you think after World War I and World War II we moved away
He's
from
using
a
her
conquest
logic.
style of government?
So,
So if the Nazis had one...
Why did the
world-
humans agree to the Geneva Convention?
Well, here, I'll use the same logic. If the Nazis had won World War II and that had been the consensus of the world, you would disagree with it, right?
It wouldn't have been the consensus of the world.
But if it
Many
was,
people fought.
but
It
if
wouldn't
it
be.
was,
would not be
but if
allowed.
it was though, but
You
if it
can't
was
oppress a bunch of
though,
people and have them go, yeah, man, I love this.
let me ask you a
were
question.
bringing up like La La Land, Goo Goo Baba.
I'll ask you a very
shit.
simple question. How would you feel if you hadn't eaten breakfast this morning?
How would you feel if you learned God wasn't real? If it was
How would you feel if you
Where
hadn't
would your
eaten
moral-
breakfast?
Actually, this is a good question. Where would your moral framework come from if you found somehow definitive proof that God isn't real? Like, what would you do? Like, where would your sense of morality come from? Would it disappear?
This is a phenomenal question. However, it avoids our deal, which was that you were going to answer in good faith my questions, and then I'm answering in good faith yours. Can you answer mine?
I don't
We're
think
almost
that's
done.
good faith
I
questions.
just want to make sure.
I
I
mean,
just want to make sure that we
fair
know the
enough.
logical entailment of
You
this.
gotta answer
I
this
know
question
everything is bad
first
faith when
before
the
you
other person's
answer
winning.
that
But
for you.
here's mine,
You're not
Marte's.
winning, bro. You're just saying the same shit over and
Oh,
over. and over,
you're
and I'm trying
hang
to
on.
disagree with
Hang
what
on. You're right.
saying, but
You know
don't
what?
have,
You know
like,
what? I'll tell you what.
the mental
In the
capacity to
spirit of
understand what the
ultimate
fuck
good
I'm
faith,
saying
in the
to you.
spirit of ultimate good faith, I'll just lid me and Marte up to your inquisition, guys. Whatever you want to ask, we're gonna give you great faith answers, and I'll show you exactly the distinction between the two of us, which is I thought out my worldview, and you're both fucking idiots, and I just demonstrated it live in front of so many thousands of people. It's gonna plague you the rest of your life, and you fucking deserve it for being that fucking stupid. Now, give me your inquiry. Go ahead.
I've been on larger platforms than this.
You've never been on a larger platform. Where have you been on a larger platform? Where?
My roommate's platform.
What is it?
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah,
like
fucking
dating
right.
debate.
You don't have hundreds
Yeah,
of thousands of
you
people
thought.
on that. What is it? I'm gonna look it up right now. What is it
You
called?
thought.
Christopher, did you have a
What is it
question
called?
you wanted
Hang on,
to
I want to look this up.
Andrew
What's it
Wilson,
called?
you are not someone I respect. I don't care.
I
if
don't give a
say
shit,
you're
lady.
saying
Can you
about
answer my
me.
question? What's the platform called?
Twitch.
Twitch. Oh, okay.
Bots.
And what's the channel on Twitch called?
Cute bot.
Spell it.
KYOOT.
He's actually looking
Okay.
this
Is
up.
this
This
really
is funny.
Joe
OOT.
Googling my fucking roommate?
Yes, I am. Oh,
Like,
Kai,
no way
is
you've
it
been on a
Qbot?
bigger channel than this
Yeah,
bitch.
Qbot.
Oh, come on. This doesn't even come close. This doesn't even come
It's a much
close.
larger
Lady,
Talking
are
about.
you fucking serious? This doesn't even. Right now, she's live with 3,700. Are you fucking serious?
It's the beginning of the night, dude.
Are you
And
fucking
she has
oh, dude.
thousands of views. What do you have right now?
I have hundreds of thousands of views across. I have actually millions and millions across multiple platforms. What are you talking? She has 3,700 live. Hey, sound off in the YouTube chat. How many do I have
Andrew
just
does
in
have
YouTube?
a pretty big following.
Just in YouTube? It's a fucking crazy broad.
6,400.
Oh, 6,400 just on YouTube. I don't even want to tell you what the rest of the platforms look like. You would cry. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I also
I'm
think
open
that-
for your inquiry, lady.
Andrew, you're not someone that does anything good for the world, and you're not someone I respect, and you're not someone that
Who
anyone
cares what you
recognizes.
respect?
Why would
I'm
care
the
about what
arbiter.
you say?
I'm the
Christopher,
arbiter of
How
what
do
you
you
respect.
insult
Like,
me?
why are you?
Or
why
did
would
you
a
have?
weird
I
ego
want
thing?
to bring it back round.
I'm sorry. Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm very.
6K isn't even that many, bro. What the fuck are you talking
How many
about?
do you have right now?
Are you shitting me?
How many
not
do you
that
have?
many.
He has.
Yeah.
6K
How
is
many?
more than
No.
3K.
How many?
Hey,
Zero.
just saying.
You have 500.
You know.
Oh, dude.
You the one that
Okay,
you the one that
Christopher, I
said
know
you
you wanted
wanted
to
a
ask
bigger
a question. I
platform.
want to
He's
give it
just
back
like,
to
no,
you
there's
for our
no
final
way.
few minutes.
I'm sorry
If
that
you'd
your
like to
3,700 viewer friend couldn't
All right,
compete, lady.
I get it. Let's dick measure. Done. Both of you.
He's talking about how I'm going to be
Christopher.
mocked in front of millions of
You
people. He
brought
doesn't
it
have millions
up
of
by
people. He
saying,
has, like,
Hang on.
200.
Let's
Evan,
stop.
Real
bigger
quick.
platform.
Real quick. I got to unmute on this side.
I'm winning the chat with zero respect. I got nothing else in this game other than this. I want to know, Andrew, as a Christian, if you feel like you have intrinsic value, and if so, where that.
Hey, hang on. I got to take care of something here. Okay, now say something.
I want to know if you believe
Okay,
that
there
you
we go.
have. Yeah, thanks. I want to know if you believe that you have intrinsic value, and if so, where you feel that value comes from.
You mean, do human beings have intrinsic value?
I want to know if you feel like you have intrinsic value.
Sure.
What is your worth?
You mean my worth in which sense?
Are you worth something as a human being?
Yes, of course. I believe that all human beings are worth something.
And are they worth the same?
Yes, of course.
So this is what I was getting to with the argument about the tribe in Papua New Guinea.
Mhm.
Your argument is that they are committing an immorality, and so would it be immoral to end that immoral practice?
No.
And my question is,
The answer is no.
do they have value?
Yes, of course they have value. But here's the thing that's interesting as you dive into the idea of value. I would do everything that I could do to prevent, like, for instance, I do this all the time. I try to prevent women from destroying their lives with OF and things like this because I actually do believe women have value. I believe that they have an intrinsic and epic value to society.
You don't. What you do is you build
You
your
see-
platform
I can't
off
even-
of
I can't even make
abusing-
the
abusing
case.
sex
Do you see I can't make
workers'
the
lives,
case?
Which is, frankly, the only Christ-like thing about you is that you hang out with sex workers all the time.
What,
And you
like,
use those
bro?
women to build your
He's
platform.
not
That's what
talking to
gets
you.
your
He's
fucking
talking to
views,
your
buddy.
debate
Everyone knows
partner.
this.
Shut the
By
fuck
the way,
up
give
and
me
let
a
him
jawline
talk
check.
to the
Here's
debate
fucking
partner.
evidence.
Like,
You
come
don't
on
need a
now.
fucking jawline.
What are we doing?
So you're manly?
I see that fucking beard. Yeah,
So
I
you're
am.
manly? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Man,
Well,
you're
listen, hang on. I concede, sir. So anyway, back to this. I concede, sir. Listen, sir, I would not want to get into an olive jar opening contest with you. I mean, you look like I know. You're right, sir. Listen, I concede.
probably stronger
I
than you.
concede, sir. I concede, sir. I concede. So anyway, just so that we're clear that you want to be called sir, I'll call you sir for the rest of the debate. But
you.
back
Yeah,
back to you, yes, sir. Back to you, Christopher. Can you repeat the question? I'm happy to engage. Remember, I just got cut off, and I was trying to engage in good faith. But go ahead, ask the question.
Yeah, the question is, do you have intrinsic value? And if so, where does that value come from?
Yes, so we believe as Christians that all people have intrinsic value. All. This would include the sex workers that Mrs. Only Watches Fucking Clips is referencing because she doesn't watch the long form content where I talk to thousands of women across the world. The thing is I do believe women have intrinsic value and men have intrinsic
I
value.
didn't
However,
ask what you. I asked about you personally.
yes, the answer is yes.
And do you know what that worth is?
Well, what does that mean?
To you, what is your worth?
As far as what?
What would you pay for your own life? to save your life?
Pay?
Yeah. If somebody said, give me X number of dollars, how much would you pay to save your life?
That would be context specific.
Yeah, like
Really?
I don't
Can I pick a
know.
number?
I
No, of
don't
course
like
not.
this
It would be context
question. It's
specific
like, what
because
would you
of this.
pay
It could
for
be an
your own
instance, for
life?
instance. Like,
Like,
I would love to say that
how
I would
much
pay
do
an
you
innumerable
have?
amount for Chuck's life, right? But
You
it could be
can't
the
give
case
people
that there
like
was
a
people who were
number
leveraging this against Chuck
if you don't
where
have
would
it.
lead to more death and destruction and mayhem, where I actually
Like,
had to make a choice,
I
which was
don't
a very
like. I
difficult
don't. I
choice,
don't like that
and
question.
unfortunately sacrificed Chuck in order to make sure that this gentleman over here, even though he died, that the greater good was served in that instance. What choice would I have?
I'm asking how much you would pay for your own life.
Well, it's context specific. Give me the context.
Would
and
you
I'll give
give
you
up
the specific
every
answer.
material possession you have in order to continue living?
Yes.
Do you think those people
Obviously.
in Papua New Guinea would make the same deal?
No.
There would be no point in having the thing. Like,
Because I
this
think
is such a
that
bad line of
When
questioning.
you're,
I'm
when you're
not
talking
gonna
about the
lie.
ideals of materialism, when you're talking about the ideals of a material outset, that when you have cultural information, I think that culture is downwind of theology. And so when I reference my theology and I reference my culture, I think I understand exactly what materialism means. And I don't think that the people in Papua New Guinea really do. I think that they're looking at the referent and only the referent, not looking at the broader picture, which I at least have some sort of training through Christian ethics to do,
So your frame of reference is based on your Christian ethics,
of course.
and you
So is
believe
Marte's, by the way.
and you believe that's the correct ethic.
Yes. So
Why?
I believe, well, so let's define truth. There's many different theories of truth. I believe in both a coherency theory of truth and a correspondence theory of truth. I believe that both of those are necessary for us to find the truth. And so I would start with presuppositional apologetics to at least get to God. And then from God, I would use the impossibility to the contrary to show that God probably, at least from your view, probably exists more likely than not. And then we can use the impossibility of the contrary to determine which of these gods would actually fit the mold of what would be necessary for the conditionals of humanity to exist in the first place.
So you just cherry pick until you found something you liked?
Well, what you're doing
What?
right now is straw manning. What thing did I say was cherry picking?
Yeah, that was
You're
a
saying you
huge
gotta weigh
straw
it. By
man.
what measure would you, Andrew Wilson, weigh out which of those religions to
I just
copy
told you.
paste onto your ethics?
I just told you.
But
But what? I just
I
told
didn't
you.
just go
Can
back.
you, can you even
Andrew
steal?
Wilson's
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you
similar
what.
to
I'll be extremely good faith, and I'm going to allow you to steel man my position. Go ahead.
I think that you find utility in creating a system, a structure, which provides you the ability to
Well,
feel
steel man
justified.
my position, not how you feel about it. What's my position?
I'm telling you what I feel your position is, which is steel manning.
That's not what steel manning is. So I'll give you an example. If you asked me to steel man your position, I would give your position from your view.
For the record, I'm going to give you guys about 10 more minutes and then we'll close this down, okay?
I would argue that you, let me try and put my mind in the place of an inveterate.
Oh yes,
Later.
Boss
inveterate.
fight.
Can I ask you a question? I'm going to ask you this in
I think
really
that's
good
what
faith.
the
What does
whole
inveterate
context
mean?
is.
What does inveterate mean?
Unrepentant.
What does
Oh,
super
this guy
erogenous mean?
again.
I don't know.
I know.
I
Well,
got
the
it.
thing is, yeah, I think it's totally appropriate to ask about words that you don't know. But what I think is disingenuous is when you try to kind of slip those words in, even though you yourself, you're not a
Something
fucking
you
genius.
have never done, I imagine.
No, actually, I'm really always good faith when it comes to, what did I say at the outset of the debate? Semantics are super important, and I want to get
But
those
you haven't
semantics under
even told
control.
us what your position was. You haven't even
On
made
what?
it like an argument.
I'll tell you what, ask
on
me
the
what the
fucking
position is.
original argument. Is
Which
it
is?
moral to take land by force?
Yes, in some cases it is. And I put it in my opening statement. In fact, I'm going to give you the exact point that I gave it. So this would be at the outset of my position. In short, I'm not really sure what my opponent's position is here, but in asking, is it immoral to take land by force? The answer is sometimes. Did you not hear my opening statement, madam? I'm sorry, sir.
I mean, it's been 2 fucking hours, and you sure talk a whole fucking lot.
Well, I mean, it's me versus two people.
And you say a lot of, you do a lot of question asking and not a lot of answering.
I've been answering your
Yeah,
questions.
it
You
is
don't really
basically him
persuasively
versus
make a
two
point.
I'll tell
people.
you
Just
what,
ask
answer,
the
ask the
question.
question that
bro.
you think I haven't answered, and I'll answer it right now.
Well, you answered it, so I feel like under what circumstances?
So, wait, so I don't answer questions, but I answered your questions?
Well, you just said
Genius. Fucking
Let's play
brilliant.
another semantic game then.
We both gave you our
under
positions
what
at onset.
circumstances do you think it is moral to take land?
I think that it is oftentimes moral to take land if the case is that it's defensive. I think that there can be offensive purposes for taking land in which the person and people group who live in that land are immoral. I think that it could be pervasive under eminent domain to take land, which is outlined in our Constitution. I think that taxation is a form of taking land, which I can agree with in certain circumstances, just like you guys do, just like Christopher claimed that he did. So the thing is like, you guys should really agree with our position here. Why don't you?
I don't think it's right to take land just because you find a people to be immoral. Could you elaborate on that?
Oh,
Which,
sure.
like,
So like in Papua New Guinea, for instance, the example that I gave you, where they're molesting little boys, I would put them out of the sword. What's wrong with that? Do 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 do.
That's not taking their land, that's
do
killing them.
do do do, and then I would take their land. Do
Yeah,
do
what's
do
part of
do
that?
do 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 do.
But then
do,
it begs the
do,
question: Did you
do.
kill them because they're immoral because you wanted their land?
No, because they're immoral. The
I
fact
would-
that
I
they,
would
the
think
fact
that
that the
would just
land,
be an excuse
and
to
here's the
take
thing
their
too,
land.
I might just give the land back to the government of origin, but I would definitely kill them. Can you tell me why I'm wrong?
Why you're wrong to go around killing people?
Yeah, to kill these child molesters. Can you tell me why I'm wrong?
Because there are people
Yeah.
around the world that think that you, as a Christian nationalist, are a dangerous and evil person,
So
and
because
who might
people
feel
think-
that
oh, I
in
see.
their that it would be moral and just to
The
kill
funny
you,
thing, the thing about this one is
take your wife and
actually,
children, and make them good, honest people.
So it would be
and
immoral for me to
save
kill these
them.
child molesters. Just say it. Just say it'd be immoral, Andrew, for you to kill these child molesters. Go ahead. I'm
I
all
didn't
ears.
say that. I didn't
Oh,
say
so it
that.
would be moral for me to kill these child molesters?
But
For you to
here's
do
the question
so?
that I'm asking.
Can you answer the question?
Actually, also based on looking at it, it's the kids doing stuff with each other. So it's not adults doing stuff with
Wait,
kids,
I'm sorry.
which-
Is there adults who are doing stuff with the kids though?
It's kids doing stuff with kids.
Yeah, and is that enabled by the adults?
Well, it's a lot different from killing child molesters.
Oh, I
Let me
see.
get-
So I see. So hang on. Let me just make sure I got this right. Let us just grant your position. By the way, I'll get into the historic idea
Oh no,
of
wait,
what's
it is
going on
adults.
there.
Never mind.
Oh, it is. Oh, I'm sorry, you were wrong. So here, I just got to ask
I
you:
like to
is it
double-check.
immoral for me to put all those child molesters to the sword and take those kids out of there? Am I doing something wrong?
I think it is immoral to
Oh.
not put them on trial.
Oh,
I think that you ought to put them on trial first. I think that
by
they
whose
would process
standards?
for
Theirs or
things.
mine?
Ours, mine.
Ours,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
So it's our standard.
It's our standard.
I do not
Our
think we should
standard is what matters.
Are we Americans? Or are we not?
You're right.
Americans?
Hey, you're right. They got to go on trial by my fucking standards. I agree with you, lady. I
I
agree.
think around the world we generally try to do things by process now, rather than just
Oh.
kind of fucking.
But let's just say, hang on, let's just
Post World War
assume.
II, I do
Let's
think,
just
as
assume
Christopher
for a
brought up.
second that I went there 200 years ago and saw this practice happening, and this was uncharted land. And I got there with my people, and I saw them doing this. And so we got our muskets out, and we shot every fucking one of these child molesting sons of bitches. And then we took all those kids, and we put them in European households. Can you tell me that I'm wrong? Look me in the eye and tell me, Andrew, you should have let them stay there and molest those children. Fucking look at me and say it, lady. Do it.
I think relocating those children is pretty evil.
All right.
So you want to leave them there with no adults?
Women?
I'm over
You would
this
kill the
one.
women as well.
Let's go ahead and
Oh my
move into
God. Yes,
closing
yes,
statements.
yes. I'll tell you what. If the women enabled
Jesus
the molestation of the children, they get put to the musket too.
Andrew, you know
Look
that
me-
like
Yeah.
Okay.
there's this
Yeah.
All right, all of
guy
you,
called the
we can
Delaware
continue
Prophet
this
It's across the
conversation
board.
during the
Christianity,
open
who's got
panel, but
European
I,
settlers
at
as
this
the most
point, would
disgusting
like to
people
shut
alive.
it down and get into closing statements, please. We're already over 10 minutes. Andrew, would you like to start with your closing statement, please? Thank you.
let's
Well,
listen to the closing
in
statements.
Great magnanimity of the Wilson Code. I will have to say, first and foremost, thank you to my debate partner, Marte. Always excellent on these panels. And you know what is great about him? He knows I
All
don't,
right,
I don't
wait
get
a
to do
minute,
these
wait a
blood sport
minute, wait a
debate,
minute,
you
wait a
know,
minute,
with
wait.
the progressives as much as I'd like. So he's always like,
Before he finishes, I wouldn't be giving this nigga no props for basically fucking sitting there the entire time and not saying shit. Like, why are we giving him props? He don't deserve any props for this. Terrible. Basically not even there. What are we giving him props for? The fuck? I'm just saying.
you know, he wants to like give the man a hand, right? He's like, hey, you know, let Andrew do his thing. He's here for good reinforcement. But Marte is a real sharp guy. You should get over to his ex immediately. They're great debates. He's having on those shows.
Is that what
So
he's
first and
giving him
foremost,
props
thank
for
you
shutting the
to
fuck
my
up?
teammate.
That's crazy.
Fantastic teammate. Over to my opposition. Your guys' arguments were talk shit, and they're gonna get clipped to fuck, and you deserve it. But I'm not going to clip them dishonestly. That's one thing I don't do. So I will always, by the way, the one thing that my enemies never do, which is allow me to come on and actually speak my piece in defense of the things that I say, I will always give you guys a platform to do that. You can always come back and give me redress for the things in which were stated in this debate, and I'll give you the platform to do that in front of thousands upon thousands of people. I'll never get that in return, and it's because I'm fucking right about everything I say. That aside, I'm just going to point out a few things. The reason that this got bogged down is because I started with semantics. We don't want to talk about semantics. How do we fucking talk if we don't talk about semantics first? Understand exactly what they mean by the things they say. What is a right? Christopher didn't know. All right? Chuck didn't know. They didn't even know what a right was. They had to wait for my definition. I asked him, what is moral? What is immoral? Well, it's subjective. Unless it's objective, and I'm what's subjective, everything else is subjective. Unless it's you who is also subjective, then it's objectively bad that you do the subjective thing. These people are walking contradictions in every aspect of their worldview. We got into what is theft. I gave them a great definition of what theft was. Nothing from them. Nothing from them on what rights were. Nothing from them on what theft was. And yet, they're like, it's bad faith, Andrew, to get in semantics and determine what theft is, determine what the very terms we're talking about even are. And this is the difference between myself, Marte, and our two opponents. I actually take this seriously. I think that these are very important conversations, very important debates. I go right after the pillar, right after the foundations. I don't give a shit about your surface level tangential nonsense. If it's the case, Andrew, that you accept all my axioms, then wouldn't this be true? Sure, but I don't accept your fucking axioms. We're going to start with you justifying those. And we never got to that because you couldn't. You couldn't. Every time you tried to get to the core pillars of your foundational ideology, you rejected it instantly because my feelings. And then when I pointed out the circularity of your argument, pointed out that I could juxtapose myself as part of that circle, you had no argument at all. You were totally brain dead, Chuck. You were like, you know, Andrew, I'm not really sure. But here's this other diverting thing that doesn't get to the root of what it is that we're even
fucking
talking
seriously,
about.
dude?
And this is why, in many ways, I feel sorry for you guys. Because the truth is, like Chris, I think that you do actually have some legitimate grievances here. And I'm willing to come on your channel and discuss them. Discuss them in good faith. And you too, Chuck, I'm willing to come on your channel and discuss them in good faith. The distinction between you and I and me and most of these fuckers, is that they're never willing to do it after the fact. They get destroyed this badly, they're never willing to engage again. And here's the difference between good faith and bad faith. If I'm wrong about something, I want to hear about it over and over, so I change my position so I'm fucking right. You guys should do the same thing. In this case, how do you come to a debate about theft of land and not know what theft means? How do you come to a debate about what you consider to be the horrible things that the Europeans do, and then appeal to all European standards for what makes them horrible? And then it's all subjective from your own basis anyway. This is absurd. And it's no wonder that we win the culture. It's no wonder we win the culture. It's no wonder we're absolutely destroying you people, because when we get to the pillars of your ideology, you have nothing except fucking feelings. And even in their closing statements, ladies and gentlemen, it's all going to be feelings. I feel this, I feel that. I caught them in multiple contradictions, A and not A at the same time, and I'm going to go over those very briefly. So first, I caught Chuck in the contradiction. I'm not the ultimate arbiter of morality, as she circles back and says she's the ultimate arbiter of morality. Same thing with Christopher when it came to his definition of theft. The second we got to taxes and property, he contradicts himself almost immediately. These people are contradiction machines. The only person that had a consistent worldview is myself and Marte. We were open to critique, but the second it came open to critique, their view was also still under the criticism. So you can see for yourself the distinction between worldviews. With that, I will say this. Thank you both for coming on.
I can't really say that he's wrong about them.
I'm not upset at either of you. I would like to have more long-form
walking contradictions. Pretty correct.
Thank you, Andrew. Marte,
I have to go to my clown show.
Are you sure?
now.
Well, you'll fit right in.
Yeah. Charlie, thank you so much.
Marte, if you don't mind, we'll skip the
dude?
line. We'll skip over, let Charlie do her closing
let's do it.
statement. That way she can exit. Thank you.
She has a very strong jaw, by the way.
I
Just
do.
ask her.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's very
Incredible.
square.
Thank you.
Buttress.
Go ahead.
It is,
Go
if you
ahead,
will.
Charlie.
I feel like we didn't actually get to talk about anything, which was kind of sucked. I thought we were really going to get into something like meaty and interesting, and we didn't. It was a lot of like misdirection. So I guess I was more or less just kind of disappointed. One thing I like about debate quite a bit is, while I've never done it professionally, it's certainly something I do in my own time. I like to challenge myself, and this didn't feel challenging. It just kind of felt like, I don't know, like having to pee really bad, but you can't go pee. You know what I mean?
Because you lose. I mean, you lose if you go pee, just like I lost if I get a drink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
precisely. So that's kind of what that felt like. I mean, I'd be open to maybe another one, but probably a different topic. I also don't, it would have to not be bogged down by, my God, I guess we'd have an agreed upon list of definitions if this were ever to happen again. Marte, I think you were kind of a beta here. You should have said more. You shouldn't have just let him talk. You should have said something. Man.
Yeah, he's definitely a
Have
beta.
more respect for yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree
Say
with
more
her.
next time.
I'm gonna let you finish.
You're a man too.
I'm gonna let you finish.
You're allowed to
Like,
say.
why the
you're allowed to
fuck are you
speak
even
too.
in this
man,
argument or
man,
debate
I
if
agree
you're
with
not
you.
even
Anyway,
actually
thank you,
debating?
Chris. I hope that
Henry,
you
I
have
am a
fun.
man.
It's like
I
they
hope you have
just
fun, Chris.
wanted to
and
make it look
We'll
fair.
talk after. See you around. Thank you, Sarah.
Enjoy your
Sorry
clown
for
show.
yelling.
Thank you, Charlie. It's
All right.
okay. I'm used
Bye,
to
everyone.
it.
So they made it
Have a
like a
wonderful
2v2
clown show.
debate.
Thank you. I'll enjoy the clown show. Goodbye.
I'm sure you will.
Okay, Marte, back to you, sir.
But like Andrew could have done this by
so-
himself.
Usually when I get
Not
into
gonna lie.
debates, my partner, who is a fine orator here and a great debater here, one of the reasons why I didn't interject is because Dennis Rodman doesn't, or any of these other supporting roles, and I'm not a big follower of sports for being a pro athlete, by the way. We can use an example of somebody that's secondary. Whenever somebody's making great plays, I don't get in their way often. It's hard. Actually, you know what? I will say this. He's like the Michael Jordan of debates.
You about
I
to
don't
use a
get in front of his
sports
way
analogy?
and fumble his play, whatever you want to call this in any other, like I don't get in front of the bullet if he's at the range teaching things, right? Because that's a hazard, right? We want to win.
Now
Why
he
would I thus
blazing.
get in his
This
way
is
and
not a
become a
good
speed
look.
bump?
I ain't gonna lie.
He's providing such great argumentation that if I
He's
was
like
to
the
offer
Michael
something, it would
Jordan
just
of
be a supportive
debates.
role
All right, bro.
in this. And I would argue that anybody else alongside
All
a
right,
debate with
bro.
him would
Now
also
you
have a
just
hard time doing
glazing.
this because he's providing such great argumentation. Also, to my point that I'm going to wrap up on,
Is he not
Charlie had a
glazing?
circular argument, which
Andrew's
was
a good
which
debater,
was
but calling him Michael
similar
Jordan of
to
debates, I'm just
Chris's
like,
on Threads. When we got
I
into
don't
this
know, bro.
engagement, I saw, oh, liberal journalist. Okay, he's got to pick. This guy's fighting back. But then what happened when we went to the comments? That then became circular as well too. And then he went on to say, okay, hey, I just want to practice.
I would
cut
argue
off
Witsit
everything and
is
delete
probably a
everything. Hey,
better
let's go ahead
debater than
and
Andrew.
see if this becomes circular when we get into the same thing. So he was also circular. And to the point that I'm making is they never had a truth. We could never get to the point of the argument. The reason why we couldn't get to the point of the argument is because the goalpost of morality was moved from one post to the next. And like what Andrew was alluding to, feelings are conditional, just like their whole morality is. We couldn't really nail down the argument because we couldn't even get past this. So when she was saying, oh, it's bad faith, it's only bad faith because two reasons. One, you're losing. And for two, we can't even get past these things because you don't even know what this is themselves. For as far as definitionally, you can't even define this yourself. I mean, if I did homework for something, I would know exactly what I could present to the audience as far as a defense or offense, right? They
He's
didn't have a
right.
defense or offense. It's just like a static position of nothingness, which boggles my mind. Why would you approach a debate absent any study, any knowledge, anything, right? And the reason why I can attack their knowledge claim is because there's no definitive standard as to what this morality claim is. They don't even have a definitive standard. Whereas me and Mr. Wilson here, my awesome orator debate partner, we have a consistent, firm, fair, and consistent standard that we can uphold to, even outside of this. So, I mean, that's the reason why it's circular is because we couldn't get past their own non-existence of nothingness. That's really what it is. If you look in the never-ending story, that big creature, the nothing, that's the thing that we were attacking the whole time. That's it. There was nothing to appeal
like,
to
he
on their
really
end where we had
he
something
really
to appeal
seems to
We couldn't
enjoy
get past it because they
glazing
were in their own
Andrew.
way. I'll concede my time.
I was like, you know,
Thank
that's
you,
your thing.
Marte. I
you know.
appreciate that. And Christopher, the
just-
final thoughts to you, please.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank my
For my debate partner,
opponents here on
but
the screen for giving me your time.
I ain't
It's
gonna
been a great
glaze 'em.
experience. And I'm sure, here's the thing. Everybody's going to debate style, debate whether somebody landed a blow, made a good point.
And it
made
looks
a good
worse
point.
after he let him
In
handle
my
the whole
estimation, there were
debate.
no
Like,
winners tonight
I mean,
because we circled and circled around
he
the
definitely
semantic
is kind of
playground
proving
forever.
the whole
And I would have loved to have gotten to more substantial
beta
discussions
argument
around
that she
whether
made.
humans
She
can
called him a
evolve
beta. I'm like,
beyond
hey,
their
you making
beliefs
yourself look
about
pretty beta right here,
subjugation
bro.
of other people. I would love to have a more substantive debate about types of force and whether force is always physical or whether it can be applied in different ways and whether that comports with the way that these gentlemen view the world.
And sir, I'm sorry, I know it's your closing statement, but I wanted to just
All right,
briefly interject. Say if Sarah wants to set that up in the future, which is you and I, where we have that long form discussion, if you just want a discussion about it, I'm happy to do it.
And the problem is, and I'm happy to take you up on that at some point, but I don't know that this is my wheelhouse where I would like to have substantive discussions that go beyond semantic debates and beyond the style of debate here where you ask a question and then because the answer isn't just exactly what you wanted to hear, your response is answer the question, answer the question. You're not answering the question. Can we, I don't know, stop for a moment and just let people answer? So I would be happy to have that follow-up debate if we can agree to move beyond those semantic games.
Well,
and
no, I
actually get into
mean,
a substantive debate
sometimes
where
when a
at least
person
we're
asks a
actually
question,
talking
you can
about-
give an answer that's not an answer to
Right,
the
we
question.
acknowledge this
So, I
past
mean,
existed.
it's
We acknowledge
definitely
that
fair to be
this
like,
at that
no,
time may
answer
have been
my question.
excusable, but
Like,
do we
that
need to
doesn't
continue
answer
to
my
do that? Can we
question.
move beyond? Can
It's fair to
technology
do
create
that.
systems
There's
that allow
nothing
us to cooperate
dishonest
and
or
collaborate
disingenuous
more
about that.
effectively and to move beyond that use of force? We could look at examples from human and animal kingdoms in which women lead and what those societies look like, and whether that's something that
I don't
maybe
tend to
the
like,
men who hold the
not
force,
letting
because I'm
people
not
answer
opposed to
my
the
question
idea of
either.
force
Like,
doctrine as you propose
like,
it,
nigga,
but I
no,
think
you
we
gonna
need to move
answer this
beyond that
question.
to
We're not
ask whether
moving
it
on
is
until you
an
answer my
immutable thing
question.
or whether it is something that we can move beyond and should aspire to move beyond. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate the conversation. I'm a little disappointed, as Charlie was, and feel as if we didn't really get to any place where we can actually have any sort of understanding. I would like to see that maybe happen. But that's basically my closing statement. I've got a lot
I
more
just
I'd
want
like
to
to
let
talk
you
about.
know, with
I'm
the
not gonna
finishing
lie,
the
this
close,
nigga kind of sounds like a
I don't
hoe to
have
himself,
any ill will
but-
towards you, sir. My job is to represent my worldview to the best of my ability. That is my job, and I take it very seriously. We did a ton of research coming into this to make sure that we were prepared. I take every debate seriously. Sarah knows this. My debate partner knows this. This is what we do.
I did a ton of debate as well.
Yeah,
but it was on substantive issues, not semantics, and that would be my lesson for the next time: is to spend more time preparing.
I am willing to come back here on Sarah's channel and ask you no questions and just answer yours. Literally,
Andrew,
I'm willing to
and
come
let me-
on and just let you be
Don't
the
think you can do it,
inquisition.
but I would
me-
love to take you up on a bet on that.
Let me also kind of break it down for you too, Christopher.
Yes.
Andrew typically matches energy. So when there's like, obviously it's very blood sporty at this point, especially for Moderator Monday. But if you get a 1v1 with him, I know he'll be very good, good in terms of being able to have the actual conversation that you're looking for. I think it would be
Whatever.
much better.
Listen. I think I can change your mind, Chris. That's why I'm willing to just literally answer your questions. I think that what happened tonight is it's the first time that you've had to think about some very critical things. Semantics are very important to a debate for a reason. I'm not here
But you
to
often strip. Well, we can talk about this more if we go on. The issue that I have is often in the semantic debates, you're stripping out the nuance and asking for a definitive answer. In life, there are very few definitive answers.
Actually, I agree.
Can we agree?
I actually agree with you. That's why semantics, I think, are so important.
So when you ask for a definition of theft, it's not a black and white answer, is it? It's not an easy response because there are gradations there. There is
I think
depth to
that's fair, unless you call something theft. The problem is like I agree with you that if it's the case that we have a very nuanced position here when it comes to theft, which I agree, that's very nuanced. But the second you call something theft, doesn't that become less nuanced? Now you're actually attributing this thing to that thing. Now our nuance is a lot less, right? Because now we have something to apply it to. You agree with me on that?
No, but at least if we agree that theft can mean different things in different circumstances,
I agree.
then we can apply that lens to those
Bro,
circumstances.
I
and have a
agree. I
conversation
actually,
about them.
I spent most of tonight's debate agreeing with you and just showing you that if I do agree with you, that I can still show you how it is that you're actually limiting yourself in the the reason we have logical fallacies like presentism, the idea that we're presently going to take our current moral status and apply it retroactively is for just this reason. I'm actually happy to engage with you on your various ideas of what theft are. Just remember this. If I say murder is very nuanced, you would agree with me. Murder is nuanced.
very easy.
It's
like
gonna
if
depend on all
somebody's
kinds of
point
things.
is wrong,
Until I say, but that's
and
murder.
it's just like
Then you're
inherently
gonna want that to be
incorrect,
pretty specific,
you could just
right?
like grant
Am
a
I
lot of
wrong,
their points.
Chris?
And
I'm going to
still
want you to
prove them wrong.
explain why you're calling something, why you're labeling something a specific label.
Because now we're getting specific. And so that's why I think semantics are so important. This was never me trying to berate or destroy you guys, though I did. This was really, I'm giving you a learning lesson here. The second you call a thing, I'm going to want to know why the fuck you're calling it that thing. And it better be a good fucking reason, which is the same thing you want from me. So you can say it's bad faith until it's applied from you, and then suddenly it's not bad faith.
Do you realize that in several points I asked you direct questions and you did the exact same thing? You refused to give a hard definition. And I could have in that moment taken the tactic of saying,
my
answer this.
show.
Hang on, Sarah, let me finish real quick.
No,
Let me
I'm
get you one-
taking
one-
back
another
my show,
platform
gentlemen.
over
We
here.
are going to move on to the super chats, and I am happy to let you reopen that book once we get into open panel dumpster fire.
But hang on, Sarah. There's one thing. The Crucible crew, once again, Sarah comes through. She has she has always been very gracious in hosting us, and we always support those who support us. And we don't mean support us because they ideologically agree with everything we say. We mean support us because they allow us to be platformed on their platforms. And even my opponent, I don't think would say that she was a terrible moderator whatsoever. She seemed to be very fair-handed the entire time. Get over there, send in that fucking good super chat money. I think that that's fair.
That's
Wow,
fair.
we can completely agree on
Yeah,
that.
Sarah's a good moderator.
I'll take that as a
most
win
of the
then.
time.
And I do want to
Most
do a
of the
quick
time.
logistics for those of you who are still watching over on Charlie's show. I am going to disconnect you. There's or no, I did.
That's
already
why I
hit
like to
disconnect. Okay,
review
whatever,
her
we're done.
debates because she's a fairly
Okay,
good
let's get to
moderator.
the
She
super
usually has
chats,
a
gentlemen.
decent
If you don't
topic.
mind, I'm going to do just 10 and up. You are more than welcome to respond to any of them. If it's an insult or a question or whatever, you're more than welcome to make a response.
Sarah, can I say something 1
Usually
minute?
has some
Just a couple
interesting
seconds.
characters
This point,
debating
hey,
on
Hey,
the
Chris,
channel. and
anytime you want to do a
whatnot,
one-on-one
you know?
debate and finish what we started in Threads, I'm open to that. If Sarah's available for that, I'm also on X Spaces. I do debates there. I think we could flesh things out better when it's not tight because you're missing nuance, tonality, voice inflection, things like that. Yeah, I'll be much obliged to go ahead and tear you apart there too. So I'll leave that.
You know, I'll let Sarah move ahead. I just want to say my goal in coming into this isn't to tear anybody apart. My goal is
Your
to understand your
worldview.
position, to share my
Your
position,
position.
to have a good faith transition of ideas, and then hopefully we can come to some consensus on what makes sense, which is ironically much what the conversation would have been had we been able to get to how we move past this idea of yours.
We can flesh that out in the future. Yeah,
Ah.
I agree.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. My patience levels they're running. Okay, so I'm just going to do 10 and up for the super chats for now, just because we have a lot of super chats to get through, and there's already people waiting backstage. I do ask if you do respond to a super chat or to each other, we make it precise, concise, and short and to the point. I like it short and sweet so we can move on to the next round of things. Tard Wrangler in with the big 20 says Andrew weaponizes the form of rational discourse against reason itself. He is the face intellectual evil Darth Wilson. Show love, night shift. This is paid messaging from the Moist
He's the
Mafia.
face of
The face
intellectual
of
evil.
intellectual
Darth
evil
Wilson.
is he.
Darth Wilson is funny. I ain't gonna lie.
It's an inside joke, Sarah. No biggie. You can move on.
Yeah, I get it.
I'll send you the song. It was a great song. It really was.
Fair enough. Thunderstorm in with the Big Ten. Since the
Darth
first
Wilson
Americans
is
were
pretty fucking
Europeans,
funny.
didn't that give legitimacy to the Vikings and Pilgrims to take it back? Any thoughts? Once, twice? No. Blank field with the Big 20, just for me to tell you all to fuck off.
Okay, wait a second. You see how that's blank? Right? We don't want to hear your fucking social commentary, chat. Fuck you, chat. Just send in the blank chats so we can get to the panel and keep on fucking debating. I don't want to hear your fucking questions. We all know you're based as shit. Just send in the blank fucking chats because we support those who support us. Those are the rules.
Fair enough. John Smith in with the Big Ten says, "Sigh, not my proudest fap. That's awkward. Don't do that, John." Fatty with the Big Ten. Jesus rejected violence, earthly power, and territorial conquest. Andrew and Marte are Christians. You would be going against the teachings of Jesus.
How, Fatty? When we give a descriptor. You think that we can't describe how the world works? And then I literally said this during the debate, Fatty, that Christian ethics is the only thing that will give us the ought against this idealism of might makes right. That doesn't mean we can't see the descriptor that might makes. It just means that we can see that as a descriptor of things that happen in the world, might makes, and I can use my ethical standpoint to stand against it correctly. Do you understand that? Like, we went through this in the fucking debate, you fuck. We went through this, and I'm happy to wreck you again, Fatty. I'm happy to wreck you again.
Fair enough. Jester All with the Big Ten for the alcohol you're going to need. Thank you all for coming to the debate for our entertainment. I have a feeling, I know I had to crack open a White Claw last night with Rob Noor and Ryan, the Radical Coder.
It's good. This
It
couldn't
may be
have,
possible
this
I
couldn't
have
have
to do
ended
that
at a
tonight,
better
too.
time.
Austin King with the Big Ten. If a society
I
justifies
don't feel
taking
like
land by
covering the
force,
panel.
why is it
Not
wrong
really
to
any
take land
point.
from
The
a
debate
peaceful
is
one?
over.
If the morals of others apply to them, why don't their morals apply to others?
That's the question.
Just don't feel like it.
Anyone want to add anything?
So,
This was to the opposition. Can you answer that question, sir?
I'm trying to
to
digest it.
wind
Here.
down
If
here.
society justifies taking land by force, why is it wrong to take land from a peaceful
especially
one?
because
I think you'd have to define.
I don't even know if I want to play this.
Oh, semantics. I thought they weren't that important.
Level of the game.
Semantics
right
weren't
now.
that important 5 seconds
It's not
ago.
important to spend 15 minutes dancing around each one.
Oh, really? It's
I-
not
and I
that
will-
important, but it's super important.
Actually, even I would disagree with that, Christopher. A lot of people like to argue at surface level stuff, when in actually, if you just dig down down to the roots of it, you'll find the basic terminology. And if you can't come to that kind of concurrence on it, then nothing else matters. And even if the foundation is rocky and all over the place, anything at that surface level is absolute shit. And that's why I do like that Andrew digs into the foundation.
Well, it depends on what peaceful means. Andrew, when you ask me what theft means, that's bad faith. When I ask what peaceful means, that's good faith. Do you understand why I think you people are a joke? Do you get that now?
Again, I think what we
Yeah,
do
so they're
is we
just reading
continue
the
to look
super
back and
chats
use
at
the
this
activities of
point.
the past to justify the ongoing uses of the future. And that
That's
is
question begging. It's just question.
I think you can wrap it up. So for this debate, I guess we can say Andrew and whoever the other fuck nigga is, I don't give a fuck because that nigga didn't say shit, so I'm not even about to learn his name. Like you gotta actually make an impact or make some good points in a debate to really get me to give a fuck about who you are, especially if you sit next to Andrew and you just letting Andrew do everything. So fuck that nigga. But so basically, just only Andrew won this debate because Andrew was the only one debating. And it was because, I mean, frankly, he kept holding their feet to the fire. Like, they couldn't really get an argument out without contradicting their shit. Like, he kept catching them in these logical traps. Even if his arguments weren't the greatest, like his arguments on the exact topic weren't the best. But he did catch them in a lot of logical contradictions. So at the end of the day, like all they could say was, "Oh, this is like a bad thing" or whatever. He actually got the other guy to agree when they started talking about whether or not you can subjugate people to protect them or protect people when you subjugate them. And then he started going into that weird like Papua New Guinea conversation about like the boys and the male warriors or whatnot. uh he was making a good point. I mean, he was basically saying that, like, if you were trying to protect another group of people, would you be justified in going in and kind of conquering, taking that land or whatever to protect the people there from some kind of immoral action being done against them? Now, I think the other guy was kind of making a good point in the area where it's like, is one immoral action justified to stop another? Because if he believes that it's immoral, and if by their standard it's immoral, or by an objective standard it's immoral, and both things are immoral, it would be kind of that question where it's like, or that phrase of two wrongs don't make a right, right? So like, just because somebody stole from you doesn't mean stealing from them is right, right? Like that's basically what he was saying. Like, just because somebody's doing wrong over here doesn't mean that you doing something wrong to them is justified. Now, the real problem there is that, like, if somebody's doing something wrong to somebody else, you going in and stopping that person from doing that thing isn't necessarily wrong in and of itself. Now, if you were to say that taking land is wrong, but like stopping them from doing the thing isn't wrong, it's kind of like, you kind of say it's kind of in a morally gray area there, because it's like, if I need to take the land or make some kind of claim here to the land or whatever in order to even get to the point where I can hold you accountable for what you're doing in your culture, right? Then it's just like something that's necessary in order for me to stop you. Now, in that kind of situation, if you want to stop people from doing something in a particular culture that is wrong and the culture around it supports it, and even like the people that it's being done to don't see it as something that's being done wrong, but objectively it is something wrong as far as you're concerned, um it kind of is necessary for you to take control of that culture to do it, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to stop it from happening. Like, you'd have to change the culture entirely, because if like he said, like, the kids are a part of it and they're supporting it and everybody around is supporting it, there's no way to stop it without just completely overhauling the culture, which would involve some kind of like, domination or conquest. So yeah, I mean, Andrew won that debate with the arguments he gave. Like, he basically won that debate. I don't think there's much more to say on the matter. uh the woman was just a really bad debater, uh, which isn't a surprise. They usually tend to be. I don't know too many women that can debate well. Andrew's wife is a pretty good debater for a woman. She's fairly aggressive, so she kind of suffers from some of the same flaws that other women do, but she's pretty sharp. So um, that's that. Thank you for joining me for this debate review. I will be back tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm trying to do it. Trying to be consistent. So I'm gonna be back tomorrow. I actually meant to get this one started earlier, but tomorrow we're gonna be covering Candace Owens. I would have done it tonight. Well, actually, no. I would have probably just did it tomorrow anyway. But I would have done, like, yeah, the Candace Owens 20 feminists video. I'm gonna do that. Since I did, looks like Is that Jasmine Jafar? Ah, fuck. I hate that bitch so much. So this is gonna be painful. Uh, just look at the wait. Stevie Knight got a different channel. Night Talk. Interesting. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really want to hear that nigga's thoughts on politics. I might check it out later though. Just to see if he actually has any good points. But I mean, like, you know, the only thing I care about from Stevie Knight is music reviews. But yeah, because I did the logical analysis of the Jordan episode. I might start doing more of these like logical analysis of these surrounded episodes. Good practice for a logical analysis. Um, and with feminists, it's sure to be entertaining at the very least. It's definitely going to be entertaining when it's Candace Owens because, like, I mean, I kind of hate Candace Owens, so I have no reason to like be like extremely charitable or anything. Like, you know, uh, it's like I don't mind Candace Owens. I just think she's kind of a grifter. So, um, it's gonna be funny to see whether she gets fucking destroyed by feminists or not. Like, and seeing that the Jasmine Jafar bitch is in the video, um, it's probably gonna be really bad. She might get her. The Jasmine Jafar bitch. I mean, as dumb as she fucking is, she she's slimy enough to fucking, you know, I think to get somebody like Candace Owens. But we'll see. We'll see. Tomorrow we're gonna do a logical analysis of Candace Owens versus 20 feminists. It's kind of hard to lose a debate against feminists, but if anybody can do it, it's Candace Owens. So we'll see. Uh, so I catch y'all tomorrow. Um, I'll see you, beautiful people. Peace out.